Chapter 1036. In fact, Dubai was also very surprised to discover Patriarch Blood River's avatar. When the Penglai sect gathered everyone, Dubai suddenly felt the jade scroll in his mind vibrate. Following the response, he saw Yuan Dao. The jade scroll showed the information of the blood demon. Combined with the introduction of the 8 great sects of the cultivation world, Dubai immediately realized that this was someone from the Blood God sect. Although he did not know that this was Patriarch Blood River's avatar, the appearance of someone from the Blood God sect at the Penglai spiritual conference made him a good scapegoat. Therefore, when Yuan Dao walked past the plenitude mirror, Dubai used the power of the Devil Lord's Jade Scroll to trigger the Sanguine Light. Patriarch Blood River had a notorious reputation. He was simply someone that everyone wanted to beat up. Unsurprisingly, when the Sanguine Light rushed up, everyone's target was Patriarch Blood River. No one suspected Dubai at all. Patriarch Blood River. Mengli gritted his teeth and roared angrily as flames rose from his body. Kaboom! A fire dragon rushed into the sky and smashed viciously at Patriarch Blood River's avatar. Crack! A thunderbolt burst out from Mo Yuan's hand and rushed toward the Sanguine Light like a thunder dragon. Although Patriarch Blood River's avatar was an essence soul venerable's avatar in terms of cultivation level, it had very little power. After all, sneaking into other people's bodies and entering other sects to gather information or even cause trouble required a smooth infiltration. If he carried too much power, it would be seen at a glance. How could he sneak in then? Faced with the attacks of 2 Gene Dan Grandmasters, Patriarch Blood River's avatar naturally could not resist and could only focus on escaping. Although this avatar of mine is not very powerful, I am still in essence soul venerable. With a flash of sanguine light, he broke through the void and used the void teleportation technique to escape the fire dragon and thunder dragon and rush into the sky. Count yourself lucky this time. I will visit again next time. After saying this, Patriarch Blood River's avatar laughed and rushed into the sky. Then, this thing is quite interesting. The void swayed, and a flying boat arrived. A little boy around the age of 4 reached out a hand from the porthole of the flying boat and grabbed the crimson streak in his hand. A mere chi channeling cultivator dares to touch the ancestor's blood god? Patriarch Blood River let out a strange laugh as a wisp of blood-red light soared up and was about to absorbly use soul chi and blood. However, no matter how hard he tried, 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 he couldn't absorb even a little bit of spiritual energy. Idiot, spirit and soul are one. If you want to absorb my spirit, isn't that the same as absorbing my main body spirit? Even if you cultivate to the eternal good fortune realm, you can forget about absorbing the main body's divine soul. Being blocked by his divine soul, he was unable to move his chi and blood. Blood God, this is the first time I've seen such a legendary demonic technique. Liu smiled. With a flick of his sleeve, the blood-red rainbow was instantly put away. Who is that? The cultivators who participated in the spiritual conference only felt that this short moment was an eye-opener. Someone died at the Penglai spiritual conference, and Patriarch Blood River's avatar appeared. Then, the Blood River Patriarch, who was so famous that anyone who heard his name would pale in fright, was easily captured. Ancestor, perfected cultivator Su? Seeing the flying boat in the sky and Patriarch Blood River's avatar being captured by Li Yu, Mo Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, Ancestor. Mo Yuan bowed toward the sky from afar. The matter of the Penglai spiritual conference was finally settled. Patriarch Blood River caused trouble, was captured by Penglai, and had his avatar destroyed. This would not affect Penglai's reputation. The real culprit has been eliminated. The Penglai spiritual conference will continue. Since Meng Yuqian's matter was over, Mo Yuan waved his hand and announced the continuation of the spiritual conference. However, someone did not intend to end it like this. Even if my Yuqian died because of Patriarch Blood River, you must be buried with him. The people of my Meng family are not to be trifled with. Meng Li glanced coldly at Dubai, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. If you can still be free after provoking my Meng family, then where is my Meng family's reputation? Won't there be more people coming to provoke us in the future? No matter how Meng Yuqian died, the matter of Du, by violently beating Meng Yuqian, had been completely reflected in the plenitude round mirror. Everyone knew that Du Bai had beaten Meng Yuqian, the grandson of the Jin Dan Grandmaster Meng Li. If he did not take revenge, where would his dignity be? Where would his reputation be? Where did his reputation come from? It was earned by killing. Killing until no one dared to provoke him. This was an impressive reputation. Senior brother Mo, this matter is over. I won't disturb you from hosting the spiritual conference. Saluting Mo Yuan, Meng Li flew away in a flash of light. Meng Li left Welcoming Island, but secretly sent a message to Meng Yuchong, a disciple of the Meng family who was still on Welcoming Island. Yuchong, keep an eye on that Dubai. If he doesn't pass the Penglai spiritual conference, find a chance to kill him. If he passes the spiritual conference, I will accept him as my disciple. Yes, Meng Yuchong agreed in his heart, and glanced at Dubai without leaving a trace, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Today's spiritual conference is really full of twists and turns. Shi Xian turned to look at Dubai, and shook his head helplessly. The cultivation world is complicated. I'm afraid it's more serious than we thought. I know what you mean. Dubai nodded. The people of the Meng family will definitely not let this go. If I really enter Penglai, I'll have a lot of trouble in the future. Fortunately, I'm not here to become a disciple. Fellow Taoist, Dubai, are you planning to leave? Ming Qingwei glanced at Dubai, smiled, and pointed to Mo Yuan on the high platform. I think you're quite suitable to be Grandmaster Mo Yuan's disciple, because both of you have cold tempers. Dubai curled his lips speechlessly and saluted the two of them. I wish both of you fellow Taoists what you wish for. Dubai will take his leave. With that, Dubai turned and left the group and walked out of Welcoming Island. This kid is planning to leave? When Mo Yuan tested Dubai's spirit, he was very surprised by Dubai's extremely pure spirit and had long been paying attention to Dubai. Suddenly noticing that Dubai had left, Mo Yuan frowned. This kid is very scheming. He suspected that I would tamper with the lie detector before. At this moment, he must be worried that the Meng family will take revenge on him in the future, so he might as well withdraw from this spiritual conference. Mo Yuan shook his head. Entering the sect will be taken care of by the sect. Isn't it more dangerous to be an itinerant cultivator outside? When the Meng family wants to take revenge, what can he do to resist? Tianfang, go and make Dubai stay. Tell him that the sect is not a place where the Meng family can do whatever they want. Meng Li is just a low-class Jindan. He doesn't have that much power. Yes. Hearing Mo Yuan's order, Xiefengwei hurriedly flew and chased after Dubai. Seeing the flying light behind him, Dubai's face turned cold. He waved his hand and took out the flying sword Moonlight Sword that he bought from Bright Moon Workshop. I haven't even left Welcoming Island, and the Penglai sect is already making a move? Dubai stared coldly at Xiefengwei, looking very vigilant. Chapter 10:37. Fellow cultivator, please wait. Xiefengwei called out and landed in front of Dubai. What? We haven't even left the island, and you're already attacking? Dubai stared coldly at Xiefengwei and gripped his flying sword tightly. If the Penglai sect really wanted to attack, he could only fight with his life on the line. However, the Penglai sect shouldn't be so despicable, right? Fellow cultivator, you must be joking. Xiefengwei shook his head. Fellow cultivator, I'm here on Uncle Master Mo's orders. Uncle Master Mo said that the Meng family doesn't have that much power and that they don't have the final say in the Penglai sect. I see. Dubai naturally understood what he meant. Mo Yuan was telling him that if Dubai joined the Penglai sect, Mo Yuan would naturally take care of him, and there was no need to worry about the Meng family's revenge. Unfortunately, I'm not fated to join the Penglai sect. Dubai waved his hand and said to Xiefengwei, I was planning to go to Yingzhou to participate in the Yingzhou Spiritual Conference. I came to the Penglai Spiritual Conference to broaden my horizons and broaden my horizons. I didn't expect to get into such a mess. I really don't have the face to stay. Ingzhou? Hearing that, Xiefeng Wei did not know what to say. Peng Lai and Ingzhou were as close as a family. However, each disciple had their own home. They wanted to join Ingzhou, but were robbed by Peng Lai. If this matter were to spread out, both families would lose face. Since you want to join Ingzhou, I won't make things difficult for you. However, the journey to Ingzhou is long. Fellow cultivator, please be careful. Xiefeng Wei cupped his fists at Du Bai and reminded him meaningfully. Thank you, fellow cultivator. Du Bai naturally knew that the Meng family would make a move on him. He just didn't know when a Meng family would make their move. Within the Peng Lai sect, the Meng family's power might not be much. However, to Du Bai, the Meng family was a giant. With Du Bai's current cultivation, a mere out-of-body stage, compared to the Meng family, the difference was like heaven and earth. Fellow Taoist Tian Fong, may I know who are the disciples of the Meng clan in your sect? In addition, Grandmaster Jin Dan of your esteemed sect shouldn't go out casually, right? From Xiefeng Wei's words just now, it seemed that he was not on the same side as the Meng family. Worried that the Meng family would retaliate, Du Bai naturally had to inquire about the Meng family strength. For a long period of time from now on, all cultivators above the divine soul realm of our sect will be cultivating the great Tao in seclusion. They won't easily leave. After the Peng Lai sect obtained the 9 arts of the great Tao, it wasn't just Grandmaster Jin Dan, but even the divine soul realm direct disciples began to cultivate the 9 arts of the great Tao and consolidate their foundation. So, the meaning behind Xiefeng Wei's words was to tell Du Bai that even if the Meng family retaliated, they wouldn't send any divine soul or above cultivators. Is that so? Du Bai also heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't an unstoppable enemy like Shun Hun or Jin Dan, it wasn't impossible for them to deal with others seeking revenge. Among the disciples of the Meng family, there's only one inner sect disciple, Meng Yuchong, who is at the Qi drawing stage. Xiefeng Wei smiled and cupped his hands. I'll take my leave now. Be careful on your way back. With that said, Xiefeng Wei flew back to the high platform. He didn't come back. Mo Yuan was a little surprised to see Xiefeng Wei return alone. Fellow Taoist, Du Bai wants to stay in Ingzhou, so I can't force him to stay. Ingzhou, you really shouldn't force him to stay. Mo Yuan sighed. Such a good seedling, and the Ingzhou sect benefited from it. It's rare for martial uncle to praise someone, so he must want to accept him as a disciple. If that kid knows that he missed such an opportunity, he must regret it. Stop flattering me. Mo Yuan waved his hand and sent Xiefeng Wei away. He thought to himself, Du Bai and that Shi Xian have the mark left by Senior Daequanzi of Ingzhou, so they must be extraordinary. Well, one for each family. Those that Senior Daequanzi likes can't all be accepted by our Peng Lai sect. This was the difference between an upper-grade Jin Dan and a lower-grade Jin Dan. They were both Jin Dan Grandmasters, but only Mo Yuan could recognize the mark left by Daequanzi. Meng Li didn't even know who Daequanzi was. As for the possible revenge of the Meng family, Mo Yuan laughed and waved a talisman. Fairy Mingqin of Ingzhou is still in Peng Lai. You people of Ingzhou will naturally take care of them yourselves. Du Bai didn't know that there were many people behind him who were paying attention to him. According to Xiefeng Wei, if the Meng family wants to take revenge on me, they will at most send Meng Yuchang. However, a cultivator in the Qi channeling stage can't be underestimated. Raising the moonlight sword in his hand, Du Bai sneered. The moonlight sword that fell from a spiritual weapon is very compatible with my lunar crescent blade. I can now exert the power of an upper-grade magic weapon. I want to see how powerful a cultivator in the Qi channeling stage is. Although not relying on external objects, Du Bai was not a pedantic person. In the face of a life and death threat, if he still clung to not relying on external objects, then there was something wrong with his brain. Not relying on external objects was Tao. Facing the enemy with the moonlight sword was technique. Using Tao to technique was the true way of Tao. Ingzhou Island is still far from here. If I want to reach Ingzhou, I can only go through the transmission formation of the Bright Moon Lane. Riding the conveyance light, Dubai rose into the air and rushed in the direction of the bright moon lane. The welcoming island was thousands of miles away from the bright moon lane. When he came, he rode on Ming Qingyue's dragon boat and naturally arrived very quickly. However, Dubai could only fly for about 200 miles at a time. He had to land to recover his primordial qi. During this period of time, I have also understood the strength of ordinary out-of-aperture stage cultivators. They can't fly more than 100 miles at a time. My strength is more than double that of ordinary out-of-aperture stage cultivators. A cold smile appeared on Dubai's face. If the Meng family wants to take revenge, they can only do it on the road from the welcoming island to the bright moon lane. Once I reach the bright moon lane, I'll use the transmission formation to rush to Yingzhou. They won't have a chance. After flying for less than 100 miles, Dubai chose a reef above the sea and landed to recover his primordial qi. The Meng family was likely to come for revenge. He had to maintain his primordial qi at all times. Otherwise, he would be courting death. Flying like this, every few dozen miles, Dubai landed to recover his primordial qi. Sometimes, there was no suitable landing spot on the sea surface. Dubai placed a wooden board and floated on the sea surface. He would rather travel less distance and waste more time to maintain his primordial qi at all times. You just arrived? I have been waiting for you for a long time. When Dubai landed on an uninhabited island after flying for more than 100 miles and was about to recover his primordial qi, Meng Yuchang appeared in front of Dubai with a cold smile. The furthest you've ever flown is only 60 miles in a journey of 500 miles. With such little strength, you dare to offend the Meng family. You are really courting death. Meng Yuchang sneered malevolently. You have landed now to recover your primordial qi, right? Once your primordial qi is depleted, you are no different from a mortal. I can crush you to death with a wave of my hand. Kid, remember not to provoke people you can't afford to provoke in your next life. A spiritual light flashed across his fingertips. Meng Yuchang waved his hand and slapped at Dubai. It was an easy and casual strike. In Meng Yuchang's opinion, an out-of-aperture cultivator who had exhausted his primordial qi was easily crushed to death. However, clang, a sword cries soared into the sky. The moon-white sword light carried a cold and sharp chill. It tore through the sky and cut through the clouds. A sword beheaded. Meng Yuchang did not understand until his death how an out-of-aperture cultivator who had exhausted his primordial qi could still control a high-grade magic weapon. The enemy deliberately exposed the information to you, and you believed it? You are so stupid. If you don't die, who will? With a wave of his hand, he kept Meng Yuchang's corpse into the jade scroll. Dubai rode on the light and sped away with all his might. After killing Meng Yuchang, he was an inner sect disciple of Peng Lai. No matter from which angle, if he did not run and was caught by Peng Lai, it would be a dead end. Chapter 1038. Yuchang is dead? Who is it? Who interfered? After Meng Yuchang died of stupidity, Meng Li suddenly found that Meng Yuchang's soul tablet was broken. He was shocked and angry. With Meng Yuchang's qi gathering cultivation, his true fire, the fire dragon, had already been cultivated in a qi, and he also had the Nine Dragons' heavenly fire shield, a mere out-of-body individual cultivator. Wouldn't he be killed with a wave of his hand? Now that even Meng Yuchang was dead, someone must have interfered. Who is it? Who dares to kill my descendant? Meng Li rushed out of the cave residence furiously and soared into the sky, rushing in the direction of Meng Yuchang's accident. Meng Li is so angry. Could it be that Dubai killed Meng Yuchang? I have already informed Fairy Mingxin. Originally, I wanted Mingxin to save Dubai and then bring Dubai back to Yingzhou. I didn't expect that Dubai to have such ability. Meng Yuchang must have died in Dubai's hands. If it was Fairy Mingxin, she would at most teach him a lesson, but would not kill Meng Yuchang. And Mo Yuan opened his mouth, intending to tell Meng Li not to waste his energy. After thinking for a while, Mo Yuan stopped. A family like the Meng family is not a good thing for the sect. Let him suffer a loss, and it will be better for him. It's here. With the speed of a Grandmaster Jin Dan, Meng Li quickly arrived at the island where Meng Yuchang was killed. Sword Chi. Feeling the residual aura here, Meng Li was furious. Sneak attacked Yuchang with a high-grade flying sword? This thief is indeed sinister and vicious. How dare you kill my descendant? I will burn your bones and scatter your ashes, even if you run to the ends of the earth. Raging flames surged as Meng Li rode on a beam of light and chased after Dubai. Clang! A sword whistled into the sky, and an invisible sword chi, like a gust of wind, sneaked in with the wind, silently moistening everything. If he hadn't purposely let out a sword whistle, Meng Li would have been silently slashed by that sword. Formless breeze sword. Meng Li cried out in surprise, his face filled with disbelief. Formless breeze sword was a peerless swordsmanship of the Yingzhuxian school's true explanation of the formless godly wind. Using the sword to develop a technique, and using the sword to transform into wind. This sword technique was invisible, formless, traceless, and impossible to guard against. In the present world, the only person who was famous for the formless breeze sword was Fairy Mingqin of the Yingzhou sect. Of course, this was not the main point. The main point was, Fairy Mingqin, why are you stopping I? Meng Li was bewildered. He could not help but roar. That bastard killed my descendant and the inner disciple of my Peng Lai sect. Why do you disregard the friendship between the two sects and stop I? He's not a thief. A gust of wind blew past, and a woman in a moon-white dress, as cold as the moon, appeared in the air. He is a disciple of my Yingzhou sect. A disciple of the Yingzhou sect. Meng Li was enraged. Fairy Mingqin, that person is only in the out-of-body stage and has just joined the Peng Lai spiritual conference. What kind of Yingzhou sect is he? How dare you disregard the friendship between the two sects and interfere? I will not let you go. If I say he is a disciple of the Yingzhou sect, then he is a disciple of the Yingzhou sect. If you're not convinced, then come and fight me. With a flick of her finger, a formless sword chi blew past like a gust of wind. It tore through the void and created a crack in front of Meng Li. How dare you be so unreasonable? I will report this to the sect leader and settle this with the Yingzhou sect. Meng Li, who was a low-grade Jin Dan, was not on the same level as Fairy Mingqin, who was a high-grade Jin Dan. After being stopped by Mingqin, Meng Li was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Meng Li flung his sleeves angrily and returned to Peng Lai to complain to the sect leader. An inner disciple of Peng Lai who tried to harm a true disciple of the Yingzhou sect. He deserved to die. You still dare to complain? Fairy Mingqin snorted. With a flash of her body, she turned into a gust of wind and rushed in the direction that Dubai had left. I finally arrived at the Bright Moon Lane. Stepping into the Bright Moon Lane, Dubai still did not relax. The Bright Moon Lane belonged to the Ming family. This was the territory of Peng Lai. Once the news of Dubai killing Meng Yuchang spread, Ming Qingyue's father, who was a true disciple of Peng Lai, would be on the Bright Moon Island. Although he had killed Meng Yuchang in self-defense, no matter what, he had killed an inner disciple of Peng Lai. No matter how much the Peng Lai sect followed the rules and acted in an upright manner, if an inner disciple was killed, they would definitely arrest the murderer. If a sect member was killed and the sect did not stand up for him, what unity would there be in the sect? At this time, whether it was to protect him or to avenge his disciple, they would definitely take down Dubai. The relationship between Peng Lai and Yingzhou is very close. I definitely can't join the Yingzhou sect. The best plan was to escape from the East Sea. However, the teleportation points of the Bright Moon Lane were all near the 3 islands of the East Sea. Even if Peng Lai wanted to arrest me, the news would not have spread so quickly in the Yingzhou region. There is a teleportation array to the southern wilderness on Golden Turtle Island in the Yingzhou Sea. After making up his mind, Dubai hurried to the teleportation array. Let's go to Golden Turtle Island. Stepping into the teleportation array, Dubai handed 2 mid-grade spirit stones to the cultivator guarding the teleportation array. 1 mid-grade spirit stone was enough for the teleportation fee. As for the extra piece, the guard understood tacitly and unceremoniously put it into his pocket. It was too common for cultivators to run away after getting into trouble. With a wave of his hand, he opened the teleportation array. With a flash of light, Dubai's figure disappeared instantly. One mid-grade spirit stone is equivalent to 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. I made a small profit today. The cultivator on guard whistled in satisfaction. Where did he teleport to just now? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded in his ear, causing the guard cultivator to jump in fright. Don't you know the rules? The guard moved his finger. If it's less than this amount, there's no need to talk. Rules? Fairy Mingqin furrowed her brows, and an enormous aura covered the sky and covered the earth. Jean Dan. The guard knelt on the ground. Senior, please spare my life. Senior, please spare my life. Golden Turtle Island. He went to Golden Turtle Island. Golden Turtle Island? Damn it. Could it be that he wants to run to the southern wilderness? Fairy Mingqin's expression changed. She instantly understood Dubai's plan. Dubai did not know that there was someone behind him and thought that he was an ordinary rogue cultivator. Killing an inner sect disciple of the Penglai sect was a disaster for ordinary rogue cultivators. Scoundrel, you better not run to the southern wilderness. It's too troublesome to find you. Stepping into the teleportation formation, Fairy Mingqin waved her hand and sent out a spiritual light. Through the teleportation formation, she rushed to Golden Turtle Island to chase after Dubai. Oh my heavens! The guard wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and stood up tremblingly. What did that brat do? He actually offended a Master Jean Dan? Where did that person teleport to just now? Suddenly, another voice sounded in his ear. Jean Dan, another Jean Dan. The guard was so scared that he could not stand steadily. Golden Turtle Island. Golden Turtle Island. Golden Turtle Island? Mengli stepped onto the teleportation array with a sinister face. Mingqin, you're protecting that brat. I want to see if he's your gigolo or your illegitimate son. Chapter 1039. I have to leave the East Sea as soon as possible. Walking out of the teleportation array, Dubai did not stop and immediately rushed to another teleportation array on Golden Turtle Island. In order to prevent spatial interference, the come and go teleportation arrays were set up separately. The teleportation array to leave Golden Turtle Island was on the other side of the island. Golden Turtle Island was called an island, but it was not small. Dubai flew to the other side of the island and rushed in the direction of the teleportation array. Dubai, stop, don't run. As he was flying, Dubai suddenly heard someone calling him from behind. She caught up so quickly. Dubai's heart tightened. How could he still stop, don't run? He quickly released the Moonlight Sword, gathered all his primordial chi, and flew quickly on the flying sword. In the EC area, other than Shi Xian and Ming Qingwei, Dubai did not know anyone else. At this critical juncture, it must be the people from the Penglai sect who came looking for him. This bastard, seeing that Dubai did not look back or answer, and instead sped up, Fairy Mingqin shook her head helplessly. Am I that scary? Her figure flashed, and a breeze blew past. Fairy Mingqin's figure instantly blocked in front of Dubai. Dubai, I am. Before she finished speaking, a white sword light rushed up and slashed at Fairy Mingqin's head. It's not that easy to take my life. Dubai roared as he brandished his moonlight sword, looking like he was going to put his life on the line. Let me finish my words. Bastard. Fairy Mingqin shook her head gloomily. She reached out and grabbed Dubai's flying sword. Stop fooling around. I'm not here to kill you. Grandmaster Jean Dan, the sword that he had used all his strength to, was easily grabbed by someone. Sensing Fairy Mingqin's aura, which was somewhat similar to Mo Yuan's, Dubai immediately understood this person's identity. If a Jean Dan Grandmaster was not here to kill him, then what was he here for? What advice does Senior have for me? Dubai had some doubts in his heart. He did not know what Fairy Mingqin wanted to do. I'm Mu Mingqin from Ying's Huxian School. I see that you have an extraordinary aptitude and are suitable to be a student of Ying's Huxian, so I'm here to take you in. Fairy Mingqin explained her intentions with a smile. Then Dubai did not believe a single word. Senior, why are you trying to fool me? If you have any instructions, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. In Du Bai's ears, Fairy Mingqin's words simply did not have any credibility. No matter how heaven-defying my aptitude is, I can't possibly trouble a grandmaster like Jean Dan to chase me all the way here just to take me in, right? A senior expert crying and shouting to take in a disciple was a story that only existed in novels. All right, fine. Let me be frank with you. You have some connections with our Ying's Huxian school. Fairy Mingqin had a helpless expression as she pointed at Du Bai. You have a mark of our Ying's Huxian school's elder on you. I think you should have seen a person called Daquanzi. Daquanzi? Du Bai was stunned. He immediately thought of Zhongzhou's Huilong Temple, thought of that old Taoist, and also thought of that crown prince who was not even 4 years old. I see. At this time, Du Bai also understood. When they left Zhongzhou, that crown prince had said to Daquanzi that these two fellows' aptitudes are not bad. Crown prince was the ancestor of Ying's Huxian and Peng Lai. With his words, Daquanzi naturally did not dare to be negligent. Presumably, because of this sentence, Daquanzi had already left a mark when he sent him and Shi Xian to Donghai. That means I'm not a rogue cultivator without any foundation. I also have a backer. Do you understand? If you do, then follow me. Let's return to Ying's Huxian. Fairy Mingqin smiled. Don't worry. Meng Yuchang dared to attack my Ying's Huxian school. He deserved to die. Peng Lai will not find trouble with you. Yes. Disciple obeys. With this backer, he did not need to worry about being wanted by Peng Lai. He would not be chased around like a stray dog with nowhere to run. Du Bai respectfully bowed towards Fairy Mingqin. With a sweep of the wind, Fairy Mingqin brought Du Bai and flew towards Ying's Huxian. Damn it, this fellow indeed has a deep relationship with Mu Mingqin. Meng Li looked at the two figures, leaving with a sinister expression. To prevent being discovered by Mu Mingqin, Meng Li did not dare to approach and could only follow from afar. Naturally, he could not hear their conversation. He saw Mu Mingqin and Du Bai exchange a few words before the two left together. Meng Li thought that Mu Mingqin and Du Bai's relationship was not shallow. Yuqian, don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. With a cold glint in his eyes, Meng Li looked fiercely in the direction of Ying's Huxian Island and clenched his fists tightly. You have to go out eventually. You can't hide in Ying's Huxian Island forever. With a gust of wind, a streak of light pierced through the air silently. Fairy Mingqin brought Du Bai along and rushed towards Ying's Huxian. Senior, may I ask who is Senior Daquanzi and His Highness the Crown Prince? What is their background? Standing on the gust of wind, Du Bai turned to ask Fairy Mingqin. Uncle Master Daquanzi is the junior brother of the previous sect master of Ying's Huxian. He is an elder of our school and also an essence soul venerable. As for His Highness the Crown Prince, you should be talking about Ancestral Masterly, right? He is the reincarnation of the ancestral master of our school. As for his specific background, I'm not sure. Mingqin smiled and explained to Du Bai. Ancestral master? The reincarnation of the ancestral master? Du Bai was speechless. No wonder they were the ancestral masters of the two sects. They were the ancestral master of the school. Their background was too frightening. However, Du Bai had another question. Isn't Senior Daquanzi a Grandmaster Jean Dan? How did he become an essence soul venerable? When they were in Middle Continent, it seemed that Daquanzi had always appeared as a Grandmaster Jean Dan, right? Uncle Master Daquanzi likes to play around in the mortal world. Not only did he disguise himself as a Jean Dan, he even disguised himself as a mortal. It is not strange that you were fooled by him. Thinking about Daquanzi, who did not care about trifles and did not care about his appearance, Mingqin shook her head. Uncle Master Daquanzi cultivates the scripture of the highest 9 omissions. This technique is very particular about the precepts and has extremely strict requirements. In order to maintain his purity and not become inflexible, Uncle Master Daquanzi is somewhat unrestrained outside of the precepts. As she spoke, the streak of light flew rapidly. Not long after, a huge immortal island appeared in front of them. Immortal clouds lingered, and the clouds were rosy. On this huge immortal island, There were all kinds of jade buildings and golden palaces. It was a magnificent sight. Is this Immortal Island? Seeing the huge Immortal Island in front of him, Dubai felt a little happy. The four essentials of cultivation were dharma, companionship, wealth, and land. After joining the Immortal Island sect and becoming a disciple of one of the 8 major sects in the world, one's foundation would be many times stronger than that of an itinerant cultivator who had to rely on himself. Let's start my path of cultivation from the Immortal Island sect. Dubai would definitely cultivate the comfort technique in the future, but with the various resources of the Immortal Island sect, Dubai's path would definitely be more stable and further. When the Immortal Island sect recruits disciples, it does not matter if we are close or distant. We only look at talent. Although you are related to Uncle Master Deakwanzi and have some connections with Grandmaster Lee, but you still need to pass the entrance test before you can truly join the sect. Fairy Mingqin landed in front of a row of bamboo buildings. Before the spiritual conference starts, you should first settle down here. After passing the entrance test, you can officially join the sect. If he did not pass, Fairy Mingqin did not say, but Dubai was very clear the consequences. If he did not pass, he would not be a disciple of the Immortal Island sect, but an itinerant cultivator. After killing Meng Yuchong, there would be people coming to settle the score with him. Chapter 1040. Master Mingqin sent a young man over. When Dubai moved into the bamboo house, this youth who seemed to have a great background alarmed everyone. Since Master Jin Dan sent him over personally, his background must be extraordinary. There were those who were envious, those who were disdainful, and those who were angry. A single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. The entire area around the bamboo building was alarmed. There was still some time before the Ingzhou spiritual conference officially began, but many of the itinerant cultivators had already arrived in Ingzhou. These bamboo lofts were where the itinerant cultivators who were participating in the spiritual conference temporarily stayed. There were more than 1,000 bamboo lofts at the foot of the mountain. Each bamboo loft could accommodate up to 20 people. Although there were still many lofts that were not fully occupied, there were already more than 3,000 itinerant cultivators staying here. There's still some time before the Ingzhou spiritual conference. Let's deal with the Meng brothers first. After Dubai moved in, he finally had the time to deal with the souls of Meng Yuchong and Meng Yuqian. During the Penglai spiritual conference, he kept Meng Yuqian's soul and killed Meng Yuchong. Similarly, he did not let go of Meng Yuchong's soul. One of them is in the out-of-body stage, the other is in the Qi gatherer stage. Both souls are very nourishing. Cultivators stole from heaven and earth. Dubai stole from cultivators. It had nothing to do with good or evil. There was no psychological pressure to do such a thing. With a roll of white light, the two souls were disintegrated and turned into pure soul energy. To do by surprise. After the decomposition this time, in addition to the pure divine soul power, there were also some spell restriction runes. I can even steal the spells and talismans that the other party cultivates. Seeing these spells and talismans, Dubai was surprised and happy. Spells and talismans were originally engraved in the soul. It was not surprising that they could be extracted after the soul was disintegrated. However, this was the first time Dubai had obtained such a reward. He was slightly surprised. Of course, the half-baked tiger demon and celestial master Red Cloud, who looked neither like a human nor a ghost, couldn't have left any orthodox restrictive spells or talismans. The Meng brothers are really gifts. Dubai had once killed the tiger demon and Qixia Shinjun, but he didn't obtain this kind of talisman. It seemed that the tiger demon and Qixia Shinjun were unranked rogue cultivators. Calming himself down, he melted the purified soul power into his soul and dominated everything with the soul will of idealism. His divine sense continued to grow, and the pure white light was like a bright moon, illuminating the entire sea of consciousness. That's right. My soul cultivation has already reached leaving Aperture Realm Pinnacle, so as long as I train for a while longer, I'll be able to draw spiritual energy into my body. Drawing qi into one's body was extremely dangerous. One needed to have an expert by his side to protect him in order to avoid any accidents. Dubai wasn't in a hurry to make a breakthrough. Instead, he planned to polish himself for a period of time and wait until he officially entered the sect before attempting to draw chi into his body. These spell restriction talismans, after digesting the soul power, Dubai turned his attention to the spell restriction talisman. Flowing flame evasion technique, fire control technique, fire snake technique. These were three minor spell restriction talismans. They should be the minor spell restriction talismans that Meng Yuqian had comprehended when he was in the leaving aperture realm. These three minor spell restriction talismans were not high, and the highest one, the flowing flame evasion technique, only had 3 layers of restriction. Meng Yuqian really doesn't have much ability. Dubai smiled and shook his head. As a descendant of a cultivation family, his family definitely didn't lack resources. If he worked a little harder and cultivated his minor spell restriction talismans to the highest level of the leaving aperture realm, it wouldn't be difficult for him to reach the 9th layer of restriction. Meng Yuchang is indeed an inner sect disciple of Peng Lai. He's much stronger than Meng Yuqian. He also had the flowing flame escape technique, the imperial fire technique, and the fire serpent technique. However, Meng Yuchang had already trained these 3 techniques to the 9th level and above. The imperial fire technique had even reached the 11th level. In addition to these 3 spell restriction talismans, Meng Yuchang also had the golden flame protection spell and the leaf fire divine sword technique, which had also been cultivated to the 10th layer. The highest level of the leaving aperture realm is the 9th layer, and the highest level of the Chi Gatherer realm is the 18th layer. If I incorporate these spell restriction talismans into my body, I will have spell restriction talismans that exceed the leaving aperture realm. It would take more than 10 years to cultivate these spell restriction talismans. Now that he had directly taken these talismans and incorporated them into his soul, Dubai had saved more than 10 years of cultivation time. Fuse. With a thought, a vast white light swept out. Flowing flame escape technique, fire control technique, fire serpent technique, golden flame protection spell, and leaf fire godly sword technique. These 5 spells instantly turned into runes and were engraved into Dubai's soul. In the pure white light of the soul, the runes connected and condensed, and the 5 spell restriction talismans turned into Dubai's own innate spell restriction talismans. These are all basic spell restriction talismans, and they're not unique to Peng Lai. There's no problem with me using them. The true teachings of the sect were reflected in the foundation of the Great Tao. Meng Yuchang had yet to officially cultivate the true Tao spell restriction talismans. If it were the true Tao spell restriction talismans unique to Peng Lai, Dubai would not dare to use it. There are 10 innate spell restriction talismans in the out-of-aperture realm, and 5 of them are spell restriction talismans above level 9. Now, with the power of the spell restriction talismans alone, no one can stop me. With a burst of joy in his heart, Dubai was also amazed by the freedom technique, the supreme sacred scripture of the Devil Tao. As expected of the true teachings of the great freedom demon lord, plundering the world and all things to nourish oneself, its power was beyond imagination. Meng Yuchang's body must also be refined. With a roll of white light, Meng Yuchang's body was also disintegrated and refined, leaving behind 3 things. A ball of red light, which was the power of Meng Yuchang's chi and blood. A ball of golden red fire, which vaguely showed the shape of a dragon. This was the flame dragon true chi that Meng Yuchang had cultivated after drawing chi into his body. The last thing was Meng Yuchang's storage bag. The power of chi and blood can be integrated into the body to further strengthen it. The flame dragon true chi will not be used for the time being. The flame dragon true chi was the true chi cultivated by the chi channeling stage. Dubai was only in the out-of-aperture stage, so he naturally did not need the flame dragon true chi. What's more, even if Dubai had drawn chi into his body, he would not be able to use the flame dragon true chi if he did not walk the path of flame. The things in the storage bag can be used. He opened the storage bag and transferred all the things inside into the storage space of the jade slip. Seeing this large pile of materials, Dubai sighed again. As expected of a disciple of Penglai, as expected of the descendant of Grandmaster Jean Dan, his family is indeed rich. A high-grade Dharma artifact, 9 dragons divine fire shield, a high-grade flying sword, dozens of high-grade talismans, 10 high-grade spirit stones, tens of thousands of mid-grade spirit stones, and various spiritual medicines and elixirs. No wonder there are so many people in the cultivation world who kill others for their treasures. This path is indeed a shortcut to riches. Even though Dubai didn't have any greed in his heart, a single coin stumps a hero. With food in his hands, he wouldn't panic. Let's absorb Meng Yuchang's power of qi and blood first. With a thought, the power of qi and blood was integrated into his body. Dubai quickly got into a fighting stance and practiced his body tempering technique to absorb the power of qi and blood. The essence qi was rolling like smoke signals. The rolling hot air rushed up from the top of his head like a white pillar of qi. Just as Dubai was digesting what he had gained behind closed doors, the stories about him in the bamboo loft were getting more and more ridiculous. Before the Yingzhou Spiritual Conference begins, there will also be experts from Yingzhou observing the performance of the crowd. If I can defeat this Dubai, I will definitely be noticed by the experts from Yingzhou. There were already many cultivators who were itching to give it a try. Chapter 1041. That Dubai hasn't left the house yet. In the blink of an eye, it had been half a month since Dubai moved into the bamboo house. Over the past half a month, countless cultivators who were eager to give it a try had been waiting impatiently for a long time. Ying's Huxian school did not forbid disciples from challenging each other. There was even a monthly sect competition where the rankings would be posted to encourage the disciples to strive for better results. Therefore, many of the itinerant cultivators who participated in the Yingzhou Spiritual Conference wanted to make a name for themselves before the conference began. Yingzhou sect was not a place that only cared about one's background. Dubai had an extraordinary background, so naturally, many people wanted to use him as a stepping stone. After all, it was a formal challenge. No matter how high one's background was, if one lost fair and square, no one could say anything about it. However, ever since Dubai moved into the bamboo house, he shut himself in and did not even show his face. For a rich kid with an extraordinary background like him, he knows that he is weak and is worried that he will be humiliated. He must be hiding and not dare to show his face. Yes, that must be it. We can't let him get away with his evil plan. Let's go and challenge him. If he doesn't dare to come out, let's see how he is going to participate in the Yingzhou Spiritual Conference. A group of cultivators marched into Dubai's bamboo house in a mighty manner, as their emotions were stirred up. Dubai, come out. Dubai, are you going to be a coward? Dubai, don't you even have the guts to accept the challenge? A group of people surrounded the door of Dubai's room and shouted. With such a commotion, countless cultivators who heard the commotion began to gather around. In a short moment, countless people had gathered outside the bamboo building that Dubai lived in. What's going on? Dubai had been practicing, polishing, and strengthening his control over Dharma's spells and divine abilities after integrating his qi and blood force, soul force, and Dharma spell restriction talismans. Suddenly, he heard a loud roar coming from outside the door, which made Dubai feel baffled. Coward? Challenge? What the hell is going on? Shaking his head gloomily, Dubai stood up and walked towards the door. I like to see what these people are up to. Creak. Casually opening the door, Dubai walked out of the room with an expressionless face, only to see that countless figures had gathered outside the room. All of you are here to participate in the Yingzhou Spiritual Conference. Why are all of you crowding around my door instead of meditating? With a slight frown, Dubai glanced at the crowd with an expressionless face and said in an indifferent tone, "Don't put on an act. What do you mean by calm? What do you mean by calm? Isn't, of course, you're afraid of a challenge and you're afraid to come out? Yes, yes." Dubai's words were met with boos from the crowd. Everyone's faces were filled with disdain and contempt. Fine, I'm telling you the truth. You think I'm looking for an excuse? Dubai shook his head slightly and looked at the crowd. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Come on, who wants to challenge me? Bring it on. As one of the four princes of the Jianghu, the cold-faced Prince Dubai, it was not like he had never been challenged before. Wasn't this challenge the same as fighting for fame in the Jianghu? I'll do it. I'll do it. In an instant, a large group of people rushed out, all saying that they wanted to challenge Dubai. Everyone, everyone. At this time, a young man in a brocade robe stood out. Everyone, since young master, Du has accepted everyone's challenge. There has to be a plan for this matter. I think that those who want to challenge young master Du should register their names here and draw lots to decide who will go up first. How about that? After all, Dubai was only one person and there were too many people who wanted to challenge him. This was the only way to go about it. That makes sense. Young Master Ling Yin is right. It seemed that this young man in a brocade robe had quite a reputation among these people. Everyone agreed with his words. However, Dubai did not agree. No need to go through so much trouble. Dubai waved his hand expressionlessly. I don't have the time to waste on you. You want to challenge me? Fine. Dubai drew a circle in front of him with his finger and said stiffly, all of you, come at me together. Arrogant. Preposterous. How do you look down on us? The crowd was furious, and there was a commotion all around. The crowd of cultivators was filled with righteous indignation and anger. However, no one took Dubai's words seriously. One person challenging everyone. One person against a few thousand people. Have you lost your mind? Or is there something wrong with your brain? Why? No one dares to go up? I'm leaving if you don't want to fight. Dubai looked at the crowd expressionlessly, shook his head, and planned to return to his room. I'll fight you. At this time, an angry roar was heard. An 8-foot-tall, muscular man with a huge hammer jumped out from the crowd. Brute Hammer King. He can't wait any longer? He's one of the 10 most powerful cultivators of the bamboo garden. Even someone like him wants to fight? Isn't it because this Dubai is too arrogant? Even the Brute Hammer King can't stand it anymore. This is going to be interesting. Let's see how he embarrasses himself. After the brawny man with the sledgehammer appeared, the onlookers hurriedly made way for him and looked at Dubai with gloating expressions. Dubai, even if you come from an extraordinary background. However, since we are all here to participate in the Ingzhou Spiritual Conference, we might be from the same sect in the future. The way you look down on others and act so arrogant and conceited is not something a cultivator should have. The Brute Hammer King raised the huge hammer in his hand and pointed it at Dubai. Come on, you've been living like a prince for a long time and have never suffered any setbacks. Today, I'll let you learn a lesson. Restrain yourself and get rid of your delusions. Only then can you step on the path of cultivation. What a joke. I was cultivating in my room and you came to provoke me. How dare you talk to me about temperament? Dubai snorted and raised his hand. I'll only use one move. If you can take one move and not lose, I'll admit defeat. Arrogant indeed. If you don't change your temperament, how can you talk about cultivation in the future? The Brute Hammer King's eyes were filled with anger as he raised the hammer in his hand. Come on, let me see how capable you are. How dare you spout such arrogant words? I'm a man who never lies. If I say you can't take one move, then you can't take one move. Dubai yelled, take this. A spark of fire appeared in his palm. He waved his hand, and a scorching flame shot up into the sky. A heat wave swept out and evaporated the surrounding water vapor. The grass on the ground was scorched, and even the air seemed to be on fire. Hiss! What kind of spell is this? It's so strong? As the heat wave swept out, the surrounding cultivators retreated. Even though they had retreated dozens of feet, they still felt unbearably hot and had difficulty breathing. Boom! With a loud boom, a huge fire snake rose from the rolling flames and slammed toward the Brute Hammer King. Hammer of the Earth. The Brute Hammer King roared and activated the high-grade Dharma artifact, Hammer of the Earth. A thick force of earth turned into a mountain and blocked in front of him. Boom! The fire snake and the mountain collided with each other, creating a loud explosion. A huge gust of wind swept up, sending all the spectating cultivators within a radius of 1,000 feet flying. Those who were a little further away staggered, and fell to the ground from the force of the gust of wind. As for the brute Hammer King, he had been sent flying hundreds of feet away and landed heavily on the ground. The power of one move was unstoppable. I'm a man who never lies. When I say one move, it's just one move. Dubai dispersed the flames and stood with his hands behind his back as he glanced at the crowd. At a glance, all the cultivators lowered their heads, not daring to look at Dubai. There shouldn't be anyone who wants to challenge me, right? Then I'm going back to my room. Dubai flung his sleeves and turned to walk into his room. Isn't it because of his good background? If I had such a background, I would definitely be stronger than him. That's right. So what if he's a second-generation immortal? After a moment of silence, everyone muttered indignantly in their hearts. Then they slowly dispersed. No one wanted to use Dubai as a stepping stone anymore. Chapter 1042. That Dubai cultivated the fire snake art to the 9th level of restriction. Fairy Mingxin was very surprised by the news when she heard her disciples report. How old is he? He's only 20 years old, and he's already cultivated a minor divine ability to the peak of out-of-body realm. According to normal cultivation, no matter how good one's talent was, they would only be able to reach out-of-body realm when they were 10 years old. After reaching out-of-body realm, he cultivated to the highest level out-of-body realm in just a few years. Wasn't this too inconceivable? No wonder Ancestral Master Li said that his talent is not bad. Even Liu, who was able to draw qi into his body and condense demonic qi at the age of 4, said that his talent is not bad. Then it was not just a normal talent. Looks like my Yingzhou sect has another good seedling. Thinking about how Shi Xian, who was also not bad, had already entered the Penglai sect, Mingxin was a bit depressed. Both of them were clearly met by Martial Uncle Daquanzi first. They should have both entered my Yingzhou sect. What was done could not be undone. There was nothing she could do. His talent is extraordinary, but I don't know what his temperament is like. As long as his temperament is firm, with his talent, it is not impossible for him to become a high-grade Jin Dan. Fairy Mingxi nodded. The path of cultivation is the path of cultivation. How far he can go on this path can only depend on himself. Lowering her eyes, Fairy Mingxin began to calm her mind and condense her qi to cultivate her spells and condense restriction runes. The path of cultivation in this world was really not free at all. It was like going to work. Every day, one had to complete the condensation of restriction runes on time. Fairy Mingxin no longer paid attention to Dubai's matter. Dubai also did not care about the fire snake art being in the limelight. Slowly, a rumor began to circulate among the cultivators of the bamboo garden. Dubai was given a talisman seed by an elder in his family because of his good background. Only after he condensed it and fused it did he have such great power. Actually, his own cultivation is very weak. Yes. Not only is his cultivation weak, his temperament is also very bad. Arrogant, conceited, condescending, arrogant, and rude. Such a disposition is utterly unsuitable for cultivation. He comes from a good family and has a good life. What can you do? Don't worry, as long as the Yingzhou sect doesn't do anything shady in this spiritual conference, Dubai will definitely not be chosen. These words became the consensus of almost all the bamboo garden cultivators. In their eyes, other than Dubai's family background, there was nothing good about him. Days passed. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed, and the Yingzhou spiritual conference had officially begun. Clang, a mighty bell sound reverberated through the clouds, and rays of light descended from the sky. On the field in front of the bamboo garden, multicolored rays of light interweaved and flowed, forming a huge palace that was completely pure white, as if it was made of white jade. The white jade capital in the sky has 12 towers and 5 cities. Immortals caressed my head and tied my hair to immortality. The long song was faintly discernible, and auspicious colors were flying. A snow-white crane flew down from the clouds and hovered above the white jade city. On the back of the crane sat an old man with a tall crown and a long beard. I am Ming Yuzi, and I am the head of the Foreign Affairs Division of the Yingzhou sect. This spiritual conference will be hosted by I." The old man on the crane smiled and nodded as he spoke to the crowd. His voice was not loud, nor was it high-pitched. It was as if he was speaking softly. However, these words clearly reached the ears of every cultivator. "Greetings, perfected Mingyu." The cultivators who were participating in the conference hurriedly greeted Ming Yuzi. Actually, the title perfected Mingyu was not appropriate. In the cultivation world, only immortal soul cultivators were called perfected cultivators. However, this was a form of greeting between cultivators, so no one took it seriously. No need for formalities. Ming Yuzi smiled and waved his hand. "This spiritual conference will be held in the pure young Dharma treasure of the Yingzhou sect, the White Jade Capital." He waved his hand, and the gates of the White Jade Capital slowly opened. "Follow I into the White Jade Capital." Ming Yuzi led a group of cultivators into the White Jade Capital. Stepping through the gates, it was as if they had stepped into another world. In front of them was a vast ocean. A huge mountain stood in the middle of the ocean. The majestic mountain reached into the clouds, and one could not see the end of it. Everyone was standing at the bottom of the mountain, on the beach by the sea. "Everyone, you will pass if you set off from here and ascend to the top of the mountain. I will await your arrival in the main hall at the top of the mountain." The crane spread its wings and carried Ming Yuzi into the clouds, disappearing instantly. Only a group of cultivators who were participating in the conference remained at the beach at the bottom of the mountain. "Everyone, as long as you can ascend to the top of the mountain, you will pass. Let's work together. Gathering everyone's strength is safer than taking the risk alone. If we work together, we will definitely be able to ascend to the top of the mountain." Young Master Ling Yun seemed to be a natural leader. At this moment, he began to organize the crowd and display the strength of the group. Yes. If we work together, it will definitely be better than taking the risk alone. Young Master Ling Yun is a gentleman and selfless. He will definitely lead us to the top of the mountain. In an instant, countless people responded to the call and gathered under the banner of young Master Ling Yun. Of course, there were also many people who were not interested. Cultivation is one's own business. I've never heard of a group cultivation. The Wild Hammer King picked up his hammer and walked towards the mountain without looking back. Apart from young Master Ling Yun himself, the rest of the so-called 10 great powerhouses either traveled alone or in groups of 2 or 3. None of them participated in young Master Ling Yun's group. As for Dubai, he had already moved after Ming Yuzi left. He did not hesitate at all and did not care about anyone else. Idealism meant that there was only self, and true heart in one's heart. Dubai was a naturally cold guy. Why would he care about others? Cultivation is like climbing a mountain. The path is beneath your feet. Which one will you choose? When they reached the bottom of the mountain, a huge monument stood in front of them with a line of words written on it. Behind the monument was the mountain. However, there were actually countless paths on this mountain. There were paths made of exquisite bluestone stairs, rugged mountain paths, and even mountain paths that were covered in thorns and overgrown with weeds. Paths, mountain paths, stone paths, and waterways. At a glance, the foot of the mountain was densely covered with countless paths. However, these paths could not see the end or where they led. At most, they could only see a few hundred feet before they were blocked by fog. Which path should I choose? How interesting. Since the path is beneath my feet, what else should I choose? Idealism, wholeheartedness. I'll just walk my own path. Without hesitation, without pause, and without even looking at the path, Dubai stepped on it casually. He did not care about anything and walked straight forward. Hey, this is a test of our understanding of our own great Tao. You're so careless. The Wild Hammer King, who was following closely behind Dubai, was stunned when he saw Dubai walk over so recklessly. Then he felt helpless. All right, he has a strong background. He can walk any way he wants. After carefully observing for a while, the Wild Hammer King raised his huge hammer. The path of cultivation is to break through all difficulties and obstacles. There is no fear. Then he resolutely stepped onto the most rugged and difficult path. Idiot! Cultivation is to walk the right path. How can you reach the peak of the great Tao through crooked and unorthodox methods? Ling Yun sneered and led his subordinates onto the flattest and straightest path. The others also made different choices and stepped onto the path that they thought was the most correct. The path was beneath their feet. Any choice was correct as long as it was in line with their own hearts. However, was the path that they chose really in line with their own hearts? Or were they guessing the thoughts of the Ingzhou sect and purposely choosing it to cater to them? Chapter 1043. Is there no other path? After walking for a while on the most rugged path, the Wild Hammer King realized that there was no path ahead. A huge cliff blocked the way ahead. There was no other path ahead. No difficulty or obstacle can stop me. The Wild Hammer King raised the sledgehammer in his hand. If there's no path, I'll smash open a path. Bang, bang, bang. Raising the sledgehammer, the Wild Hammer King smashed it hard on the cliff. On the path of cultivation, there has never been a path that is completely free of dangers. Even if it's the right path, there are all kinds of tests. Don't be discouraged. If we work together, we will definitely reach the peak. Sir Ling Yun led the group onto the widest and smoothest path. However, after walking for a while, countless snakes, insects, rats, and ants appeared on both sides of the path. The endless stream of venomous bugs made the team miserable. Dubai's path was not smooth either. In front of Dubai, there were more and more forks in the road. Almost every step he took, there would be countless forks in front of him. Some of them were brilliant golden paths, some were colorful rainbow paths, and some were heaven-reaching paths enshrouded in immortal light. Endless forks appeared in front of Dubai at all times. These forks led to the peak. Through every fork, he could see the scene at the peak of the mountain. He could even see Ming Yuzi smiling and waving at him. However, in front of him were all kinds of dangerous places. Poisonous swamps, hot volcanic lava, and even ferocious demon beasts. All kinds of dangers kept appearing. If he insisted on his path and direction, there would be countless dangers. If he chose a fork, he could reach the peak. How should he choose? Should he risk his life and fight his way through? Or should he take a shortcut to the peak? The path is under my feet, and the path is in my heart. Only my heart, only my mind. With a wave of his hand, a fire snake burned the poisonous mosquitoes in front of him. Dubai did not hesitate. He did not look left and right. He looked straight ahead. Buzz, after killing a flood dragon and crossing a cold pond, a trembling sound suddenly rang out in front of him. Endless fog surged up. If you raise your head, you can see into the distance, but you can't see beneath your feet. Lower your head. You can see under your feet, but you can't see far away. Are you raising your head or lowering your head? A mighty voice rang out in his ears. The mist before him churned, forming a power that resembled the laws. This strange fog really made it so that when one looked up, they couldn't see what was beneath their feet. He lowered his head and looked at his feet, but he couldn't see far away. Raise my head. Lower your head. Dubai sneered. I won't raise my head, nor will I lower my head. He didn't look into the distance, nor did he look at his feet. I only look at myself. Just look at my heart. Within his divine soul, a pure white light shone. Only the heart, only the self, is free and eternal. My heart is one. My heart is free. My heart is eternal. This dense fog can't block my eyes. These endless dangers cannot block my path. Nothing in the world is stagnant in the heart. In his sea of consciousness, a pure white light shone. The concept of solipsism, eternity, lingered in his mind. Where the heart is, there is the path. Within the dense fog, Dubai followed his heart, followed his nature, and reflected his true nature. Then he took a step forward. Crack! The sound of glass shattering rang out. After this step, the scene before him suddenly opened up. There was no longer any fog, only a majestic hall. In the square in front of this hall, Ming Yuzi stood there with a face full of shock. You came out just like that? Ming Yuzi looked at Dubai with a dumbfounded expression. That path of questioning, that heavy fog, you can see into the distance, but you can't see beneath your feet. You can see beneath your feet, but you can't see into the distance. How did you see through it? I didn't look into the distance, nor did I look beneath my feet. I only looked at myself, only my heart. Heart as firm as iron. Heart as unwavering. Heart as one. The firmness of one's heart is rare in the world. Ming Yuzi nodded with a face full of praise. Originally, there were many layers of illusions, but I didn't expect you to have already seen through the principles of illusion, reality, and illusion midway. Reflecting your true nature, you only ask your heart, unmoved by external objects. The illusions have already been broken. Does that mean I passed? Dubai was naturally very satisfied to be able to pass in advance. Steadfast in one's heart, never wavering in one's path. However, fighting all the way here was also very tough. You passed. Ming Yuzi nodded with a smile. With a wave of his hand, a futon appeared beside Dubai. Take a rest. You can only leave after the others are done. Thank you, Senior. Along the way, Dubai's heartstrings had been stretched taut. He had been constantly facing the interrogation of his heart. Although his heart was unmoved, he had expended a lot of mental energy. Sitting cross-legged on the futon, Dubai emptied his mind. He did not cultivate his chi to recover, but fell into a deep sleep. The recovery of the body was more natural than chi refinement. Of course, it was also easier. Bam! 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 While Dubai was dozing off, the Wild Hammer King was still desperately smashing rocks. Fearless of difficulties and obstacles. Break through all obstacles. Shouting, the Wild Hammer King swung his hammer with all his might, constantly smashing the cliff in front of him. This cliff seemed to be endless, and he did not know how thick it was. He could not see the path ahead, nor could he see hope or the future. I will never give up. His hands were bruised, and the primordial chi in his body was exhausted. He did not even have the strength to lift the hammer. Bam! He swung the hammer with great difficulty and smashed it heavily on the cliff. The strength was not enough, and the hammer actually bounced back, slamming into his chest. Uffed, the Wild Hammer King spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Is this the end of my path? No, no, I will never give up. Even if I die, I will break this cliff before I die. With a furious roar, the Wild Hammer King stood up and used all the strength in his body to swing his heavy hammer with a resolute heart. Kacha! The cliff shattered, and a square appeared in front of him. Ming Yuzi stood in the square and nodded with a smile. Finally, I'm here. The Yingzhou sex test is really difficult. I had to risk my life to pass it. Dragging his tired body and covered in wounds, the Wild Hammer King stepped onto the square with difficulty. Then he saw Dubai sitting on the futon, dozing off. Damn! The hammer in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. The Wild Hammer King was stunned. Damn. Shady. There is definitely shady. I had to risk my life to pass this test, and this guy is actually sitting at the end, dozing off? Where's the justice? No wonder he could walk anywhere he wanted. No wonder he did not stop and did not even choose a path. Because he knew that no matter which path he took, he would pass. Shady. Too shady. The Wild Hammer King sat on the ground and secretly sighed in his heart. What kind of ability is it to cheat to pass? The path of cultivation can only rely on oneself. I don't believe that your background can allow you to produce a high-grade gene, Dan. I don't believe that I can't beat you in the future. 3 days later, the test was over. More than 8,000 cultivators participated, but less than 100 reached the peak. Young Master Ling Yun's united group was eventually wiped out in internal strife, and no one reached the top. Shady. Unfair. What right does Dubai have? He is an arrogant person who relies on his family background to abuse his power. What right does he have to reach the top? What right does he have to pass? Young Master Ling Yun was like a revolutionary warrior who wanted to fight against this dark and unfair world. Give me justice. Give me justice. Give me justice. The group of cultivators who failed the test followed behind young Master Ling Yun and roared loudly. What does it have to do with me if you can't pass? Dubai was baffled. Why is it me? This was the mentality of hating the rich. However, Dubai's ancestors had never been rich. Chapter 1044. How dare you? Ming Yuzi shouted angrily. His aura covered the sky like a mountain. The Yingzhou Dharma Conference had always been known for its fairness. That was because the entire conference was run by the pure Yang Dharma treasure, White Jade Jing. Even Grandmaster Jean Dan, who was hosting the conference, was only there to watch. A pure Yang Dharma treasure was equivalent to a sun god perfected cultivator. Although its primordial spirit could not take on a human form, its intelligence was no less than that of a human. More importantly, Dharma treasure weapon spirits did not think as much as humans. If they passed, they passed. If they failed, they failed. No one could say anything. Now, someone was accusing the Yingzhou Dharma Conference of being rigged. How could Ming Yuzi not be angry? Perfected Ming Yuzi, you are suppressing us. Our cultivation levels are low, so we can only lower our heads. However, there is justice in this world. Unless you kill all of us, how are you going to shut the mouths of the masses? Young Master Ling Yun withstood the pressure and looked as if he was willing to lay down his life for the sake of justice. Yes, yes. Either you expel Dubai, or you kill us all. Otherwise, we will not be convinced. The law does not punish the majority. With someone stepping forward, the thousands of cultivators who had failed the selection started to cause a ruckus. Bastard! Hearing this, Ming Yuzi was so angry that his face flushed red. If you want to cause trouble, I don't care. However, you should not drag me into this. Hearing that this group of people wanted to expel Dubai could no longer stand by and watch. If they did not step forward after provoking him, wouldn't they be considered pushovers? You still have the face to step forward? You are an ignorant and incompetent playboy who uses your family background to act like a tyrant. You have no redeeming qualities. What right do you have to speak? Ling Yun pointed at Dubai and shouted angrily. How did you know about my family background? What kind of family background am I relying on? Tell me, which extraordinary family do I come from? Which prestigious family do I come from? Dubai was not a good-tempered person who would resign himself to being treated as a second-generation immortal for no reason. He was being treated as a stepping stone. Your family background. Young Master Ling Yun was stunned. He suddenly realized that no one seemed to know where Dubai, who had always been described as having an extraordinary background, came from. That's right. It was said that Dubai had an extraordinary background. Which aristocratic family did he come from? Yes, I've never heard of an aristocratic family with the surname Du in the East Sea, right? Hearing Dubai's words, the crowd of cultivators realized that Dubai, who had always been said to be born in a famous family, seemed to have never been confirmed by anyone. You're still quibbling? Young Master Ling Yun was a shrewd person, so he reacted quickly and found a reason immediately. Even your participation in the spiritual conference was personally escorted by Fairy Mingqin. If you didn't have an extraordinary background, why would Fairy Mingqin personally escort you? Fairy Mingqin's escort? Dubai sneered. Could it be that only those with extraordinary backgrounds would be sent here by Fairy Mingqin? I met with danger outside the East Sea and was saved by Fairy Mingqin. Fairy Mingqin heard that I was going to participate in the Yingzhou spiritual conference, so she brought me here. Can't I? Hearing this, the crowd of cultivators was stunned. That's right. This explanation was completely reasonable. Fairy Mingqin did not have to have an extraordinary background to be sent here. Furthermore, after Dubai moved into the bamboo garden, no one from Fairy Mingqin or the other Yingzhou sects came to visit him. It seemed to fit the description of being brought here. So, Dubai's explanation was the truth? You're still quibbling. If you didn't have an extraordinary background, how could you cultivate to the 9th level of seal at such a young age? You're so arrogant and have such a bad temperament. How could you be the first to reach the top? Young Master Ling Yun had not given up on his path of struggle. In fact, defeating Dubai was his only chance to rise to the top. He had no way out. As for whether this would make Ingzhou's sect unhappy, that was something he had to consider after entering the sect. If he could not even enter the sect, what was the point of liking it? Why can't I cultivate to the 9th level of seal? Dubai smiled and pointed at the crowd. After moving into the bamboo garden, while you were fighting for the title, I was cultivating in seclusion. I did not waste any time. Are you guys as hardworking as me? Are you guys as hardworking as me? With talent and hard work, I can cultivate to the 9th level of seal. Once this was said, everyone was shocked. That's right. It seemed like Dubai had never stepped out of the bamboo garden since he moved in. Only when the crowd challenged him did he make a move. The rest of the time, he was cultivating. With talent and hard work, I can cultivate to the 9th level of seal. These words were so loud that even the apathetic could hear them, causing many cultivators to feel ashamed. He was so talented and hardworking, no wonder he had such results. As for what you said about being arrogant and have a bad temperament, that's what you think. If you think I have a bad temperament, then I have a bad temperament? Why do you have to say that? Dubai glanced at young Master Lingyun coldly and snorted. If you put your mind on cultivation and don't do those petty tricks of forming cliques and scheming, you might have a chance to pass. And you guys, Dubai pointed at the other cultivators who supported young Master Lingyun. Even Lingyun is only an out-of-body realm cultivator. What can he help you guys with? Moreover, cultivation is your own business. Even an essence soul-perfected being can't guarantee that his disciple will definitely reach the core formation realm. What's the point of following him? He's just using you guys. That's right. After being reminded by Dubai, this group of cultivators suddenly realized that following young Master Lingyun seemed to gain nothing. Nonsense. I'm upright and selfless, young Master Lingyun hurriedly retorted. However, before he could finish, a trembling sound suddenly sounded in the void. A light screen slowly unfolded in midair, and young Master Lingyun's figure appeared on the light screen. Dubai. Was he sent by Fairy Ming-Chin? He must be from an extraordinary background. If I fail the Ingzhou spiritual conference, I can use him as an excuse. Use Dubai as an excuse to incite those brainless idiots to cause trouble. In order to appease them and protect the reputation of the Ingzhou sect, they will definitely negotiate with me. When the time comes, I'll request to join the Ingzhou sect. As for those idiots who were incited, who cares if they live or die? On the light screen, young Master Lingyun's voice sounded. Hearing this, young Master Lingyun's face turned pale and sweat started to form on his forehead. As for those idiots, their faces turned green and their eyes burned with anger. From the moment you stepped into the bamboo garden, the entrance test has already begun. Your every move is under the surveillance of the White Jade Capital. In fact, the bamboo garden is a space within the White Jade Capital. Ming Yuzi looked coldly at young Master Lingyun and the idiots. Didn't you guys suspect that Dubai's results were shady? Let me show you how Dubai passed. With a wave of his hand, another light screen appeared. The path is under your feet, so what's the point of choosing? Just walk your own path. On the screen, Dubai climbed up the mountain. There were endless forks, endless dangers, and the fog of looking up and looking down. Don't look at the distance, don't look at the feet, only look at myself, only look at my heart. Then, Dubai stepped out of the fog and arrived at the peak of the mountain. This is what you call an unbearable temperament. Now, do you think his temperament is unbearable? Ming Yuzi shouted. The surroundings were silent, and everyone lowered their heads. The Ingzhou spiritual conference ends here. Those who pass will enter, those who fail will leave. Chapter 1045. Talent and Hard Work? Not bad indeed. After the Dharma assembly ended, Fairy Ming-Chin listened to the boy's report and nodded with a smile. The path is under my feet. I only look at my heart. This is a true cultivator. His fire technique talent is extraordinary. Patriarch Li just happened to pass down the 9 techniques of the Great Tao. I cultivate wind techniques. The wind helps the fire. I can take him in as a disciple. Fairy Ming-Chin smiled, got up, and stepped out of the cave. This is the Prenglai Heart Nourishing Pavilion. That was where the new disciples lived. The heart-nourishing pavilion is managed by the deacon disciples. You just have to listen to their arrangements. After placing the dozens of new disciples in the heart-nourishing pavilion, Ming Yuzi waved his hand and turned to leave. Brother Du, that about what happened before, I'm sorry. Wildhammer King touched his head. I misunderstood you, sorry. No worries. Dubai nodded. It's just a small matter, don't take it to heart. With Dubai's cold temperament, even if he accepted the other party's apology, he still looked cold and distant. He was completely unapproachable, keeping people 1,000 miles away from him. You're the new disciples? At this time, a green-robed cultivator walked out of the heart-nourishing pavilion. I'm Li Quan, the heart-nourishing pavilion's deacon. You can call me Senior Brother Li. Follow me. Leading the new disciples into the heart-nourishing pavilion, Li Quan introduced to them. You are now only the outer sect disciples of the sect. The sect will provide you with a basic qi cultivation technique. On the 1st and 15th of every month, there will be elders of the sect preaching in the Sutra Teaching Pavilion. Every month, the sect will send out deacon missions. After completing them, you will be rewarded with karma points. After accumulating karma points, you can exchange them for various artifacts and pills in the Treasure Pavilion. You can also exchange them for techniques and spells in the library. Outer sect disciples? Then, how can we become inner sect disciples or even true disciples? Just entering the sect and standing out from thousands of people. These new disciples were inevitably a little arrogant and looked down on this outer sect disciple. Become an inner sect disciple? Li Quan smiled. Within 3 years of entering the sect, you could become an inner sect disciple if your cultivation reaches the peak of the out-of-body level. After accumulating 100,000 karma points, you can also become an inner sect disciple. 100,000 karma points? Senior Brother Li, how long does it usually take to accumulate 100,000 karma points? None of them had even considered the possibility of reaching the peak of the out-of-body realm in 3 years. Putting everything else aside, even reaching the 9th layer of the art of transcendence was not something that could be achieved in 3 years. 100,000 karma points. Under normal circumstances, I can earn 100,000 karma points in 10 years. But if you cultivate in the outer sanctum, you will definitely need to spend karma points to exchange for various materials. Therefore, it's not that easy to accumulate 100,000 karma points to exchange for a place in the inner core. 10 years isn't enough? The group of new disciples only felt that their hearts were extremely heavy. Reality was far from what he had imagined. Even if he joined the Ingzhou sect, he would not be able to soar to the top. Then, is there any other way to become an inner disciple? The crowd was still unwilling to give up. They didn't think highly of this outer sect disciple status. Of course, Li Quan smiled and nodded. Li Quan was naturally aware of the thoughts in everyone's hearts. Every new disciple wanted to soar into the heavens, to be promoted to the inner sect, or even to become a true disciple. But the possibility of this happening was too low. The spiritual assembly that was held once every 10 years would recruit close to 100 disciples each time. But among these people, at most, only 1 or 2 would have the chance to be promoted to the inner sect. As for becoming a true disciple, that was even rarer. Li Quan sighed inwardly and said the last way to be promoted to the inner sect. The last way is that if Grandmaster Jin Dan likes you and accepts you as his disciple, you can also be promoted to the inner sect. Grandmaster Jin Dan. Hearing this request, the crowd shook their heads. If Grandmaster Jin Dan likes you, then what else is there to say? Dubai. Where is Dubai? At this moment, at the entrance of the heart-nourishing pavilion, a middle-aged cultivator rushed in hurriedly. Senior Wang, what's the matter? Li Quan was leading the crowd to the warehouse to distribute the Taoist robes, plates, and other materials. Suddenly, he saw the middle-aged cultivator running in and hurriedly asked, Marshal Aunt Mingqin is here. She's looking for someone called Dubai. Senior Brother Wang raised his eyes and looked at the group of new cultivators. Who is Dubai? Hurry up and follow me. I'm Dubai. Dubai agreed and walked out from the crowd. Let's go. Quickly follow me. The middle-aged cultivator called out and hurriedly ran out with Dubai. Marshal Aunt Ming-Shin? She's looking for Dubai, could it be? Li Quan's heart skipped a beat, and a look of shock appeared on his face. What's the background of this Dubai? He just entered the inner sect and was accepted as a disciple by Grandmaster Jean Dan. Grandmaster Jean Dan accepted a disciple. When the group of new disciples heard this, their faces were full of shock. Senior Li, can we go and take a look? The crowd looked at Li Quan eagerly, as if they wanted to see what was going on. There's no harm in taking a look. Li Quan nodded and hurriedly led the crowd out of the door. Walking out of the door of the heart-nourishing pavilion, the crowd saw the beautiful and elegant fairy Ming-Shin standing on the ground outside the heart-nourishing pavilion. Dubai was greeting her. Dubai, your temperament and talent are extraordinary. I wish to accept you as a disciple. Are you willing? When Fairy Ming-Shin said this, the crowd who had just walked to the door were stunned. Jean Dan accepted a disciple. This was the most difficult and enviable of the 3 ways to enter the inner sect. Jean Dan accepted a disciple. With Dubai's talent and temperament, it's not strange for Grandmaster Jean Dan to accept him as a disciple. After the scene at the spiritual conference, when the crowd saw how Dubai climbed the mountain, they felt some admiration for Dubai. Of course, at this moment, the crowd was more envious. If I could also be accepted as a disciple by Grandmaster Jean Dan, how good would that be? But this enviable Jean Dan accepted a disciple. To Dubai was a little difficult. Dubai can't thank you enough for your kindness. It's just that. Dubai hesitated for a moment, then raised his head to look at Fairy Ming-Shin. It's just that I don't know if the Grandmaster's cultivation method matches Dubai's own path. He didn't immediately agree. He didn't immediately kowtow. Hearing Dubai's words, the crowd was stunned again. Jean Dan accepted a disciple, the envy of the crowd. This kind of exceptional opportunity, you actually dared to reject it? The crowd was already shouting in their hearts. Let go of the fairy. Let me do it. He doesn't know how to appreciate kindness. Will he anger Fairy Ming-Shin? If he loses this opportunity, will I have a chance? Some of the more sinister ones were already scheming. Out of everyone's expectations, Fairy Ming-Shin was not angry, but nodded in satisfaction. I've seen the situation of your entrance test, and know that you have a firm temperament, are single-minded, and already know your own path. Fairy Ming-Shin smiled. On the path of cultivation, a disciple is just to guide you through the door, impart some cultivation experience, and remind you of some things to pay attention to. The path, of course, still has to be walked by yourself. Although we are master and disciple, you have your path, and I have mine. I see. Dubai nodded and bowed to the ground. Disciple greets master. Chapter 1046. Dubai, that demon, is already on his way. According to Li Yu's arrangements in this world, the demon was Dubai, the immortal was Serene, and the emperor was the emperor of middle ground. Only with monster, God, and Buddha would it be complete. The 9 laws of the great Tao test the 9 material Taos of wind, lightning, light, and darkness. Dubai tests the demonic Tao, and the emperor of middle ground tests the imperial Tao of holy virtue. However, there's still many things missing. According to Li Yu's plan, they wouldn't stay in this world for more than 100 years. Not counting Li Yu's clone, it would be a miracle for anyone else to form a high-grade Jean Dan within 100 years. Therefore, Dubai, Serene, and even the emperor of middle ground wouldn't be of much use. The connate 5 virtues, karma, reincarnation, and fortune. I haven't found any guinea pigs for these Taos yet. Next, I'll have to give them away. The 4-year-old Li Yu stood up and waved his hand. Little Su, send the ancestral master out. Ancestral master. Su Jifei walked in with black lines on his forehead, so depressed that he couldn't speak. I'm a celestial immortal after all. Ancestral master, can you change the way you address me? Little Su sounds like a eunuch. Enough. What are you dawdling for? Send the ancestral master to the great realm of the 5 elements. He still needs to refine the baleful aura of the 5 elements. Liu waved his hand arrogantly. Yes. Su Jifei helplessly let out a long sigh. He chose the spatial coordinates and used the two realms void grand technique to open a void passage. He brought Liu into it. They crossed the void and arrived at a vast expanse of space. In front of them was an enormous ball of light shining with five-colored radiance, quietly floating in the dark void. Ancestral Master, this is the great realm of the five elements, also known as the Heavenspan realm. It's open to all cultivators in the multiverse, and anyone can enter and leave at will. Furthermore, this world is a hub that leads to countless other worlds. That's why it's called the Heavenspan world. Su Jifei explained as he brought Liu through a huge golden passage into the five elements great world. As expected, the power of the five elements is extremely dense. This world is ruled by the five elements. After passing through the golden passageway, there was a vast and boundless world ahead. Five colors swirled in the sky, displaying the profundity of the five elements. Countless floating islands floated in the air. On every floating island, there was an exquisite palace. There were also countless magnificent buildings on the ground. All kinds of escape lights whistled through the sky, and people came and went in an endless stream. Countless cultivators from countless worlds came and went in this world. This was a flourishing place for cultivation. Ancestral Master, there are many cultivators coming and going from the five elements great world. Celestial immortals are very common here. Moreover, the five elements Tao, ancestor of this world, was a Tao integration golden immortal. This disciple's strength. Su Jifei looked at Liu eagerly. The meaning of his words was very obvious. Ancestral Master, if you create a big commotion, this disciple's strength won't be able to withstand it. Don't worry. Liu waved his hand indifferently, but he was laughing strangely in his heart. If I don't create trouble, why would I come out? The five elements baleful chi is very common in this world. Ancestral Master, are you going to condense the baleful chi first? Condense the five elements baleful chi first. Even if he wanted to, he had to finish his own business first. Liu waved his hand, and Su Jifei flew into the air, bringing Liu along as they rushed toward the five elements great world. In this five elements great world, the five elements baleful chi was everywhere. After finding a place with high-quality five elements baleful chi, Su Jifei landed. Stay aside and wait for me to condense the baleful chi. Waving his hand, Liu stepped into the place with the five elements baleful chi. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, the five elements gathered, and the baleful chi surged. Liu walked to the center of the five elements baleful chi, released his essence chi, and condensed the five elements. This condensation went very smoothly and did not cause any commotion. 2 months later, Liu finished condensing the baleful chi and walked out of the place with the five elements baleful chi. Su Jifei was still stunned. That's not right? It's not in line with the Ancestral Master's character to not cause any commotion, right? Idiot. This is the territory of the five elements Tao ancestor. If you cause trouble here, aren't you afraid that he'll crush you with a finger? Although he said that, the great hoodwinker Li was already prepared to cheat the old peacock. Yes, Ancestral Master is wise. Su Jifei hurriedly flattered him. Ancestral Master, what are you going to do next? Let's go to the Floating Wanderer Chamber of Commerce to take a look. The Floating Wanderer Chamber of Commerce was a famous chamber of commerce in this void universe. Its business covered the 27 void universes where golden immortals were overseen. Liu naturally did not care about treasures. At his realm, as long as he knew the nature of the item, he could directly use the origin of matter to create it. However, the Floating Wanderer Chamber of Commerce also had countless cultivation techniques and mystical abilities from various void universes. Big Bustling naturally had to collect a copy of such things. Not only could he deepen his research, but he could also torture people. Old Peacock, you're ignoring your son-in-law being suppressed and your daughter's eyes being swollen from crying. I can't stand it, so I'm here to cheat you. The five elements Tao ancestor's daughter had found a son-in-law that the old peacock did not like. In addition, this son-in-law's temperament also needed to be tempered. Therefore, the old peacock watched helplessly as his son-in-law was suppressed for tens of thousands of years, and his daughter cried until her eyes were swollen. But he could not be bothered to care. He even issued a ban, forbidding heaven immortal experts from saving them. Liu could not stand it, so of course he was talking nonsense. The old peacock still had a lot of good things in his hands. The heavenly cycle stars, sword technique, and the connate five-color divine light were all good things. Of course, more importantly, there were immortals and fiends, but there were no demons, right? The old peacock was naturally the representative of this demon. After making up his mind, Liu had Su Zhifei ride a streak of light and rushed towards the Floating Merchant Association. The Floating Merchant Association of the Five Elements Great World was established on a huge floating island. When Liu and Su Zhifei landed on the floating island, a female cultivator greeted them with a smile. "True monarch, please come in. Our Floating Merchant Association has everything you need. You will definitely be satisfied." The female cultivator looked at Su Zhifei. In her opinion, the Heaven Immortal was the real master, and that she drawing child should have been brought out by the Heaven Immortal True Monarch to see the world. Unexpectedly, after hearing the female cultivator's words, Su Zhifei's face was full of embarrassment, and he hurriedly lowered his head and took a step back. "Ancestral Master, after you." Liu nodded indifferently, and with his hands behind his back, swaggered over. Su Zhifei wiped his cold sweat and followed behind like a lackey. During this period of time, Su Zhifei also knew the temperament of this ancestral master. The ancestral master liked to show his divinity in front of people, and whoever dared to disrespect him and steal his glory, the consequences. Jiang Yehe was still frozen in the primal chaos frost because he disturbed the ancestral master's fun with the Penglai disciples. Ancestral Master? Heaven Immortal True Monarch's ancestral master? A chi drawing stage. The female cultivator's face was full of shock. Yes, a Heaven Immortal True Monarch's ancestral master must be a half-step golden immortal or above. With my little cultivation, how can I see the strength of such a person? Chapter 10:47. Senior, may I ask what you need? A silver-robed old man greeted him with a smile. Seeing Liu's attitude, the silver-robed old man didn't find the wrong person and bowed to him. Do you have connate chi of the five virtues and connate chi of the five cosmos? Liu wasn't here to buy anything, so he directly asked for something that couldn't possibly be found. Well, we do have some virtuous chi. The five virtues are complete, but we don't have any. As for the connate five cosmos, we don't have any. It was no wonder he had a celestial immortal as a follower to ask for something that only a golden immortal Tao ancestor could obtain. The silver-robed old man's posture became even more humble. Liu nodded faintly, but secretly released the system to scan everything in the floating Rome Chamber of Commerce. Whether it was all kinds of heavenly treasures or all kinds of mysterious connate chi. As for the various cultivation methods and secret manuals from the various void worlds, he naturally collected a copy as well. Since you don't have any, Liu turned his head to look at Su Zhifei. Little Su, is there anything you want? Take it if you want. Consider it a gift from the ancestor. Many thanks, ancestor. Although the title of Little Su didn't sound good, with the opportunity to take it if you want, it didn't matter anymore. This disciple needs to prepare for the second blight, and also needs to prepare some items for the tribulation. Su Zhifei looked up at Liu. Ancestor, how should I pass the second blight? When Su Zhifei asked this question, the silver-robed old man also pricked up his ears and looked at Liu anxiously. This old man was also a celestial immortal and was about to pass the second blight. If he could receive guidance from this great being, it would be a peerless opportunity. The second blight is the decline of magic power. There are quite a few treasures for tribulation. However, using external items to deal with the tribulation isn't the right way. How about this? You buy a 5 elements embryo. The 5 elements embryo nurtured connate chi of the 5 elements and was also a mysterious treasure. It might be extremely rare in other places, but it definitely existed in the 5 elements great realm. Yes. Su Jifei hurriedly obeyed and asked the silver-robed old man to bring over a 5 elements nascent embryo. Senior, this 5 elemental origin embryo naturally doesn't catch your eye. Take it as a token of appreciation from this junior. Please accept it. The silver-robed elder bowed and extended his hand to present the 5 elements nascent embryo to Li Yu. Senior is merciful. Senior has pity on me. In order to obtain Li Yu's guidance, the silver-robed old man kowtowed respectfully. Fine. This can also be considered a fortuitous encounter for you. Li Yu smiled and took the 5 elemental nascent embryo. The 5 elemental nascent embryo can nurture the innate 5 elemental chi. You can infuse any of the 5 elements into them, and they will turn into innate treasures of 5 elements. Your opportunity lies in the process of the 5 elements embryos nurturing the innate 5 elements chi. After celestial being was Tao integration, and after Tao integration was creation. What was creation? The process of the 5 elemental embryos nurturing the innate 5 elemental chi was a process of creation. As long as I can comprehend a trace of the chi of creation, the Deva's decline will be nothing. I see. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your guidance. The silver-robed elder shed tears of gratitude and kowtowed again and again. Forget it. This can be considered a fortuitous encounter for you. Li Yu smiled and threw the 5 elemental nascent embryo to Su Jifei. Little Su, let's go. With that, Li Yu took Su Jifei and floated away. May I know Senior's name? The silver-robed elder bowed and shouted. At the beginning of the chaos, Yin and Yang appeared, and the heaven and earth dark yellow chi was born. A long song came from afar, and the figure floated away, disappearing without a trace. Yin and Yang? No, no one in the world has merged the great Tao of Yin and Yang. There is no Yin and Yang Tao ancestor. Then, dark yellow chi? The silver-robed elder was so shocked that his whole body trembled, and he screamed, Tao ancestor dark yellow chi. Didn't Tao ancestor dark yellow chi, who was famous for the heaven and earth dark yellow chi pagoda, already prove eternity and transcend heaven and earth? Why? Prove eternity? I actually saw an existence that proved eternity. This is really a peerless opportunity. Ancestral Master, your poem just now seemed to, after leaving the floating travel commerce. Su Jifei blinked and stammered. He cursed in his heart. Ancestral Master, you are suspected of impersonating Tao ancestor dark yellow chi pagoda. At the beginning of the chaos, Yin and Yang appeared. Heaven and earth dark yellow chi was born. This is I's poem. These words are not false at all. This was really the poem that Big Boss Lee had used before. It was completely original, without the slightest bit of piracy. You can't really be. Su Jifei was already scared silly. The origin of this ancestral master had always been a mystery. Yu Shenxiao also said it vaguely, without any details. It was said that Tao ancestor Dark Yellow Chi Pagoda was originally surnamed Li. The poem was like this, and the surname was also the same. Could it be that the ancestral master was really the person who proved eternity and transcended heaven and earth? He actually came back? This time, I really didn't think of impersonating. That really is I's poem. Li Yu laughed in his heart, and then pointed to a cliff below. Little Su, land over there. We are waiting for someone. Waiting for someone. Su Jifei was baffled. He followed the words and landed on the cliff. Ancestral Master, the person you are waiting for, he is here. Su Jifei had just opened his mouth to ask when he suddenly saw a 5-colored brilliance whistling in the distance. A young man wearing a white robe, his whole body rippling with a 5-colored halo, landed on the cliff. A boundless and boundless aura came over, as if the void of the universe was pressing down on the top of his head. 5 elements Tao ancestor. Su Zhifei screamed. He was so shocked that his whole body trembled. He was almost pressed down by this aura. Really useless. In Su Zhifei's shocked gaze, the 4-year-old little ancestral master, who was only at the chi drawing stage, just waved his hand, and this huge pressure instantly disappeared. Ancestral master. The ancestral master actually had such a great ability? Yes, black-yellow, Tao ancestor came to the world. Because of the limitations of heaven and earth, he could not bring too much power and could only walk as a small cultivator. However, in essence, he was still an eternal existence. Fellow Taoist, Kongji did not go out to greet you. Please forgive me. Seeing Liu casually remove the golden immortal pressure he released, the old peacock did not dare to underestimate Liu and regarded him as an equal existence. It's just that black-yellow Tao ancestor is a person of virtue and prestige. Fellow Taoist actions are contemptible. Although Kongji felt that Liu was a golden immortal level character, but black-yellow Tao ancestor was completely impossible. I am me, not someone else. Liu smiled and shook his head. As for that poem, it is really my poem. Fellow Taoists' actions. The old peacock was about to refute Liu when he suddenly saw the black-yellow chi lingering in Liu's hand. He was immediately stunned. You. Seeing that black-yellow chi, the old peacock was scared silly. Senior, you're back. The old peacock fell to his knees with a plop sound. Senior, hundreds of millions of years have passed. Do you still remember the little sparrow on the willow branch? I'll go. Liu's heart shook. Could it be that there's a story about the Great Lake? I'm just fooling around. Don't give me any strange things. Chapter 1048. The old peacock was the target of Liu's bluff. Other than the innate 5-color divine light that could be used as a reference, the heavenly cycle of star sword technique was also a good thing. They were all supreme-level great Tao true techniques in this world. There was a Xianhuang Tao ancestor in this world. According to Liu's understanding, this Xianhuang Tao ancestor was probably the same as the Yu Daoren, the additional self of the Grand Supreme Elder in this world. He had been gone for hundreds of millions of years. It was just right for him to get a strand of Xianhuang Qi from his main body to make up an ambiguous lie. Anyway, it was not the first time that Liu pretended to be the Grand Supreme, so there was no need to worry about it. However, the old peacocks, do you still remember the little sparrow on the willow branch, was simply a Xianxiao version of Daming Lake, which made Liu shudder. It's really not bad that you can cultivate to this level today. Liu smiled and nodded, answering vaguely. Senior, you enlightened all living beings and spread morality. I was fortunate enough to learn about the great Tao, so I could cultivate to this level today. I will never forget Senior's kindness. The old peacock respectfully kowtowed to Liu. As for Su Zhifei, he was already trembling all over. He was trembling with joy and excitement. The ancestor was really the Xianhuang Tao ancestor. The ancestor was really the Xianhuang Tao ancestor. His mind was filled with this sentence, and Su Zhifei was already dumbfounded. Due to fate, I felt that there was still a trace of karma in this world that had not been settled. Therefore, I incarnated to the lower realm and settled the final karma. Liu reached out to help the old peacock up, smiling. If I brought all the power of the eternal realm down, it would cause the void universe to shake, and it would lead to a disaster. Therefore, I just separated a spiritual incarnation. May I know if little K, can be of any help to you? The old peacock quickly volunteered. I've been waiting for you to say that. Liu laughed in his heart, but he did not show it on his face. He just smiled indifferently. All right, you and I have some history. You really did have something to do with it. It is little sparrow's honor to be of service to Senior. Old Peacock was overjoyed. Back then, Tao ancestor Xian Huang had given him guidance. Although he was not fortunate enough to be able to become Tao ancestor Xian Huang's disciple, he was still able to serve Tao ancestor Xian Huang. I deduced the chaos and wanted to open up a great Tao for the myriad worlds. He created the order and matter Daos, becoming the pinnacle of all Daos in the universe. Unfortunately, after attaining the creation realm, he could not stay in this world for long. He owed this world for not creating a great Tao for this world. This is I's karma. Liu began to bluff him with half-truths. What was bluffing? He was not a liar. Most of what the swindler said was false, with only a little bit of truth. However, most of the lies were the truth. It was just that these truths contained some motives. Senior enlightens the world. Your morals are profound. To create a great Tao for the heavens and earth, only someone like Tao Ancestor Black Yellow would have such thoughts. Old Peacock admired Liu even more. Your Tao is based on the 5 elements. It is suitable to inherit I's matter Tao. Liu looked at Old Peacock with a face full of smiles. Little sparrows, are you willing to be I's disciple? Kong Ji jumped in shock and cried tears of joy. He hurriedly knelt on the ground. Master, please accept this disciple's bow. After many years of longing and regret, today he could finally become Tao Ancestor Black Yellow's disciple. Today he could finally become Tao Ancestor Black Yellow's disciple. Rise. Liu reached out to help Kong Ji up, and a stream of black yellow chi flashed from his hand. The 5 elements combine into black yellow chi, and the matter Tao is here. He stretched out a finger, and the black yellow chi entered Kong Ji's sea of consciousness. Then, black yellow chi surged, and the 5 elements circulated. In Kong Ji's mind, it constantly evolved the 5 elements and the birth of all things. The great Tao was not written in words, but a true inheritance. When he saw the method of combining the 5 elements in black yellow chi, and the scene of the myriad origin chi evolving all things, Kong Ji trembled with joy. Master, thank you for bestowing the great Tao. Old Peacock kowtowed in excitement. Little did he know that when the black yellow chi entered his sea of consciousness, Liu had also taken the opportunity to make a copy of Old Peacock's soul memories. Old Peacock's connate pentacolor divine light, the heavenly cycle star's sword art, and even his countless years of comprehension of the 5 elements in this universe were all plundered by Liu. The matter Tao has yet to be perfected. How much you can comprehend from it will depend on yourself. In fact, Liu had only evolved the process of combining the 5 elements in black-yellow chi, and the process of the black-yellow chi breeding all things, and it had been tinkered with from the 5 elements in this universe. It did not involve one's comprehension, nor did it involve the fundamental great Tao of the matter Tao. It was equivalent to telling Kong Ji that there was such a method and such a thing. As for the final outcome, whether Kong Ji would evolve into black-yellow chi or fall into a pit, Liu himself did not know. Your disciple will cultivate seriously and strive to comprehend the Tao of black-yellow as soon as possible. Kong Ji bowed and solemnly expressed his attitude. The great Tao is not cultivated in a day. Let nature take its course and do not force it. Liu nodded at Old Peacock, waved his hand, and sent a talisman into Kong Ji's hand. Go back and cultivate properly. This is your master's talisman. If there is anything, you can contact me through it. With that, Liu waved his hand. Your master is leaving. With that, Liu waved his hand, and together with Su Jifei, ignoring space and distance, crossed the endless void and returned to Penglai Island. Damn it! In order to maintain my image, in order to show off, I used the power of my main body at the last moment, causing a faint trace of repulsion in this world. Liu shook his head gloomily. He recalled that he had tricked Old Peacock into becoming a huge lab rat. He had also taken away all of Old Peacock's knowledge and scanned all of Floating Rome Commerce's treasures and cultivation methods. The harvest from this trip was not bad. This world still has the dragon race and an ancestral dragon. Next time, the target of my deception will be the ancestral dragon. Liu had already played the role of the ancestral dragon in many worlds, but this world still had a real ancestral dragon. I want to see if this ancestral dragon can still be an ancestral dragon after seeing I. Of course, the ancestral dragon was only a spare tire. Next, Li Yu's real experiment targets were mainly gods and Buddhas. If it's gods, this universe still has a God Emperor Great World. The God Emperor is a good-for-nothing, so I have to trick him. But Buddhas are not easy to manipulate. The glazed Buddha was the representative of the great Tao of karma. Li Yu wanted to study the karma of this world, and this person was a good target. But to manipulate him, he would probably need his main body to do it. His main body's principles of karma could compete with the glazed Buddha's great Tao of karma to see who was the real master of karma. When Li Yu finished his calculations, he realized that the bastard Su Zhifei was still giggling. Bastard, are you crazy? With a slap on Su Zhifei's head, Li Yu's roar woke Su Zhifei from his stupor. Ancestral master. You. How should I address you in the future? His own ancestral master turned out to be such a terrifying character. Su Zhifei was so happy that he lost his sense of direction. Ancestral master is ancestral master. Don't call me that, and don't talk nonsense. Yes. Ancestral master wants to keep a low profile. Ancestral master wants to show off. Disciple understands. Chapter 1049. Let's take a look at Old Peacock's connate 5-colored divine light. Li Yu's own cultivation also started from the 5 elements. Eventually, it combined with black and yellow, evolved yin and yang, and formed the great Tao of order and matter. The 5-color divine light can destroy everything. So this is the path he took. Old Peacock's connate 5-color divine light didn't follow Li Yu's path of combining the 5 elements with black and yellow to form the great Tao of matter. Instead, he used the power of the 5 elements to break down and suppress everything. His power was truly terrifying. The 5 elements are also great Taos. Old Peacock's research on the 5 elements is very deep. These insights are suitable for me to prove the great Tao of matter in this world. Li Yu's doppelganger wanted to create matter and order in this world. Of course, he had to refer to the principles of the 5 elements in this world. Extracting Old Peacock's understanding of the 5 elements and integrating it into the doppelganger Li Yu Jr.'s divine soul strengthened this chi-gatherer doppelganger. During this trip, I also obtained the Heavenly Cycle Star Sword Art and countless techniques collected by the Floating Rome Trade Union. These things are very valuable reference materials. The laws of heaven and earth were reflected in cultivation techniques. By analyzing these techniques, Li Yu could have a preliminary understanding of the laws of heaven and earth in this world. The great Tao of matter is relatively easy. With Old Peacock's connate 5-color divine light and my own black and yellow great Tao, it's not difficult to summarize the great Tao of matter in this world. But the great Tao of order is more troublesome. There are some things that weren't basic laws in this world. For example, merit, virtue, karma, and fate. These were the laws that Li Yu didn't have much contact with before. As for the connate 5 essence chi, he had to prove his creation before he could understand it himself. He couldn't borrow others' hands. Merit is relatively easy. Repairing this damaged Yu Tian is a great merit. Virtue is to educate the world. When the time comes, I can let Yu Shunxiao try it. The Emperor of Zhongzhou is also experimenting with virtue. What was left was merit, karma, and luck. These 4 things had to be experimented on. The Yu Qian doesn't have the 6 paths of reincarnation, nor is it connected to the netherworld of the void universe. Opening the cycle of reincarnation for Yu Qian is definitely a virtue. Thinking of this, Li Yu looked up at the border between the eastern sea and the southern wasteland. There was a sea of Yin souls there. It was the base of the Nether sect, one of the 8 great sect of Yu Qian. The Yama Emperor, the Nether Emperor, the Chakravarti King, and the few nascent divinity venerables from the Nether sect can be used for experiments. The members of the Nether sect were not good people, but they were not so bad that their souls were covered in pus. Compared to the Blood God sect's method of using the Blood God's disciples to wreak havoc, it was much better. Of course, it didn't matter whether they were good or bad. They were just test subjects. The Prime Clear collection also contains the 6 paths of samsara. However, if I want to obtain the complete 6 paths of reincarnation and open the netherworld for you, Yutian, I'll have to make a trip to the 9 paths of reincarnation. The 9 paths of reincarnation was the netherworld of this void universe. Apart from Ean's souls, only mighty figures with profound cultivation bases dared to enter that place. If Li Yu's clone went to the 9 paths of reincarnation and was swept by the 9 paths of reincarnation chi, he would die immediately. Therefore, he had no choice but to send his main body. Li Yu's main body, which was hidden in the void, slowly opened his eyes. I've traveled through countless worlds, but I've never seen a world with a netherworld. I'm just about to see the netherworld of this world. Transforming into chaos, Li Yu ignored space and distance as his figure drifted silently. In an instant, he arrived in a pitch-black and gloomy world. Heaven and earth were dark. Gloomy mists filled the air. Amidst these mists, there was an endless amount of 9 paths of reincarnation chi, mysterious Yin chi, silent death chi, vicious chi, and filthy evil chi. If an ordinary essence soul venerable came into contact with these mists, his essence soul would be corrupted very quickly, and he would turn into a Yin soul. The 9 paths of reincarnation, the netherworld. Interesting indeed. Drifting down silently from the void, Li Yu saw a turbid river churning violently on the ground below. The mighty river pierced through the void and flowed on the ground. It was unknown where it started or where it ended, but it seemed to pierce through the endless void and the various worlds. This is the river Styx. The river Styx was also known as the Yellow Spring or the water of the river of forgetfulness. It could cleanse one's soul, erase one's memories, and forget everything in the past, causing one to sink into eternal oblivion. Nothing could float in the river Styx. Even heavenly immortals would sink into eternal oblivion if they were thrown into the river Styx. Of course, the river Styx had its own counter. It was the connate chi of the 5 virtues. A virtuous person would not fall into the Yellow Spring. Merit, saint virtue, good fortune, moral virtue, nether virtue. As long as one had the chi of the 5 virtues, one would not fall into the Yellow Spring and be reincarnated safely. There's no bridge of helplessness or Granny Meng. There's only a ferryman of the river Styx. Li Yu looked up and scanned the area. He did not see the bridge of helplessness that he had imagined above the river Styx. There was only a simple black boat in the river Styx. On the black boat, a skinny old man and a pale-faced boy steered the boat through the turbid waves of the river Styx. This is only the first level of the 9 paths of reincarnation. There are still 8 other levels. Therefore, it's not strange for a ferryman of the river Styx to appear on this level. Li Yu smiled and lowered his head to look at the water of the Styx below. I can also study the river Styx's water. With Li Yu's cultivation level, he was naturally not afraid of the river Styx's water. He reached out and grabbed a stream of the river Styx's water. A water dragon soared into the sky and was caught by Li Yu just like that. You. Li Yu's action stunned the 2 ferrymen on the black boat. To grab the river Styx's water with his bare hands. He was already a golden immortal Tao ancestor, right? What was a golden immortal Tao ancestor doing here? I was just about to look for you. With a wave of his hand, Li Yu put away the river Styx's water and instantly landed on the black boat. A river Styx ferry formed from the aura of nether virtue. Not bad. Lowering his head to look at the nether river ferry, Li Yu smiled and nodded. Senior, this is the foundation of my many years of cultivation. Please be magnanimous. The skinny old ferryman's face turned pale when he heard Li Yu's praise. No way. A golden immortal Tao ancestor would take a liking to this? You are the ghost emperor of the first level of the 9 paths, Emperor's Wichio, right? This boy is the primordial spirit of your Dharma treasure, the Emperor Crown? Li Yu glanced at the 2 of them, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Senior, you are right. This junior is indeed Wichio. The skinny old man and the pale boy hurriedly bowed to Li Yu. It's good that it's you. Li Yu turned to look at the dark land of the first level of the 9 paths, and saw a huge palace towering in the distance. That was the imperial palace of Zwitchio. I know many people are scheming here, and I know you want to escape. I can't be bothered with your trivial matters. I'm just here to take a look. Liu smiled and waved his hand. Emperor Zwitchio and his Dharma treasure primordial spirit, who had passed the fourth celestial blight, felt their bodies stiffen, and then nothing happened. Boy, did something happen just now? Emperor Zwitchio looked at the pale boy in confusion. Master, what happened to you? Nothing happened at all? All right. Liu had erased all traces of his presence from time and karma, so the two of them naturally didn't know anything. Chapter 1050. I'm done with my preparations after going to the Nine Hells. After obtaining the complete reincarnation technique from Imperial Lord Zwitchio, the Nether Emperor, Liu could now summarize a cultivation method for establishing the 6 paths of reincarnation. I'll find a pawn in the Nether sect and give him a fortuitous encounter. I'll be able to study the chi of Een virtue through him. Liu had also scanned Imperial Lord Zwitchio's black boat and analyzed the Imperial Lord's chi of Een virtue. However, that was not enough. Liu would only be able to analyze the laws of birth of Een virtue in this world if the Nether sect established the reincarnation cycle and bestowed Een virtue. He had to know the reason as well as the reason. This was Liu's path of order. I'll have to make the best use of my time to cultivate my clone. I'll have to reach the Tao integration stage within 100 years at the very least. Only then will I be able to obtain the laws of heaven and earth in this world. Tao integration in 100 years. If it were not for Liu's cheat code, he would not even be able to dream of achieving it. Even if he had a cheat code, time was tight. He did not have many worlds to explore. Naturally, he would have to rely on his main body to deliver fortuitous encounters. There are mortals, fiends, emperors, and demons. I can mess around with the Nether sect for a while. After all, the deities of the underworld are gods as well. With a sway of his body, Liu's main body silently arrived at western Yutian's border. The great war between golden immortals during the ancient times destroyed this world. Back then, Western Wilderness and Midlands were the most prosperous places in the cultivation world. Midlands is completely destroyed, but there are still many things left in Western Wilderness. During the Great Calamity, Midlands was completely destroyed. Spatial rifts and energy storms wreaked havoc in Western Wilderness. However, Western Wilderness was not completely destroyed. There were still many cave abodes left behind by ancient cultivators. To you Yutian cultivators, Western Wilderness was a huge treasure trove. Although no one could go to the central area of Western Wilderness, it was not impossible to go to the borders. Although the treasure hunt had a slim chance of survival, the temptation was too great. Every day, countless people would head to the borders of Western Wilderness in search of treasures. Therefore, it's very reasonable to unearth an ancient legacy in a place like this. Liu transformed into nothingness and silently stepped into the Western wasteland. The raging energy storms and space cracks were not a problem for him at all. Landing in front of a cave that was shrouded in a void crack that no one had ever explored before, Liu had already chosen a place to trick people. This is the abode of an ancient expert in the Tao of corpses. It makes sense that the zombies here are related to the 6 paths of reincarnation. In Yu Yuqian's current cultivation world, they had more or less come to know some ancient secrets. The Nether sect must have learned about this corpse Tao elite from ancient books. He did not believe that the Nether sect would not take the bait. Gold-armored Heaven Monarch, ancient gold-armored Corpse King, 4 Blight, Tribulation, Sky, Immortals had the 9 Nether Legacy and the 6 Paths of Reincarnation. It was very reasonable. It could be said that this gold-armored Heaven Monarch also had the idea of establishing the underworld. Liu stepped into the abode of the gold-armored Heaven Monarch casually, completely ignoring the Een, dark, mystery, death, and other restrictions inside. There's also a 3rd Blight, Tribulation Spirit Treasure. Spirit treasures were a level higher than Dharma treasures. They were the most powerful spirit treasures made by Sky Immortals. Moreover, they had gained sentience and could transform their primordial spirits. You can only consider yourself unlucky. If Liu wanted to trick people, he naturally would not let someone who knew the inside story live here. He reached out his hand and grabbed. A white bone seal flew out of the abode. This was the gold-armored Heaven Monarch's spirit treasure, the white bone nether seal. "Senior," a voice came from the seal. It was a panicked and trembling voice. This was the primordial spirit of the white bone nether seal. "Don't be nervous. I'm just giving you a chance." With a flick of his sleeve, Liu put the white bone nether seal into his storage. "The Tao of the white bone nether seal is just a small Tao. I'll give you the Tao of the 6 paths of reincarnation. This is a chance." The 5-colored light rolled, and the white bone nether seal immediately disintegrated. Together with the primordial spirit, it was reconstructed according to the Tao of the 6 paths of reincarnation. After a short moment, a completely pale seal that was inscribed with 6 profound runes and emanated the aura of reincarnation appeared once more in Liu's hand. This reincarnation seal was not only engraved with the true art of 9 serenities, but also a spirit treasure that had gone through the 3rd blight tribulation. It had endless power. Not only could it use the power of the reincarnation seal to open up the netherworld kingdom and connect to the 9 serenities world, it could also confer the Een God of the netherworld through the reincarnation seal. The preparation is done. He waved his hand and threw the freshly made reincarnation seal into the depths of the abode. Liu walked out of the abode with a smile. The reincarnation seal can confer the Een God of the netherworld. If you accept the conferment, you'll have the power of a heavenly immortal. Moreover, you won't be affected by any tribulations and will enjoy a lifespan of 1,000,000 years. I don't believe you'll be able to resist such an opportunity. Once they accepted the conferment, the consequences would depend on Big Boss Li's mood. Naturally, if the members of the Nether sect could remain unmoved in the face of such temptation, Liu would have to praise them. As expected, they were potential cultivators. Those who could resist such temptation would surely become important figures in the future as long as they did not die. What harm would there be in fulfilling their wishes? What's left is just a bait. Liu looked at the cultivators who were searching for treasures at the edge of the western wilderness. A faint smile appeared on his face. A lucky fellow accidentally fell into a rift in the void. He didn't die and even obtained the gold-armored Heavenly Lord's treasure. Then, he was forced to reveal the treasure during a battle. The Nether sect happened to receive this news. That's a reasonable plot. With a wave of his hand, a rift in the void extended out and connected the gold-armored Heavenly Lord's abode to the western wilderness. Then, he retrieved a white bone devourer sword from the gold-armored Heavenly Lord's abode and tossed it at the entrance. I need to add something to this white bone devourer sword. A trace of the 6 paths of reincarnation's aura is enough to bait it. With a flick of his finger, Liu added a trace of the 6 paths of reincarnation's aura to the white bone devourer's sword. Next, I'll let a lucky fellow, unlucky fellow fall into this rift in the void. Liu raised his head and glanced at the edge of the western wasteland. Soon, he chose a suitable candidate. At the edge of the western wilderness, another battle broke out. It was all too common for this kind of treasure hunting team to kill each other because of the uneven distribution of the loot. Old Ghost Golden Toad, I'm the grandson of Chi Changshan, an elder of the Rogue Cultivators Alliance. How dare you kill me? A middle-aged cultivator with a sinister expression pressed on the wound on his chest and shouted angrily. He turned around and fled in a beam of light. Kill you? If I didn't see the opportunity, I would have been killed by your 100 poisons jade phosphorus fire. You want to kill me, but I'll kill you as well. A short old man with countless lumps all over his body soared into the sky and chased after the sinister-looking man. There! A wretched cry rang in the air. There was a flash of clear light beside the sinister man before he vanished. A rift in the void? Chi Shanhai fell into a rift in the void? Ha! As expected, he got what he deserved. When Old Ghost Golden Toad saw this, he laughed strangely. Liu laughed as well. The bait is out. We're just waiting for the fish to take the bait. Chapter 1051. I'm not dead. Qi Shanhai was completely disheartened after falling into the spatial rift. He thought that he was dead for sure. However, he actually passed through the spatial crack unscathed and fell down a cliff. There are rare and stable spatial rifts in the spatial rift. I'm so lucky to pass through a stable spatial rift. Qi Shanhai laughed. I'm so lucky. Qi Shanhai was overjoyed when he looked around. This is a place that has never been explored before. There must be an ancient cave abode here. Qi Shanhai walked along the cliff. Soon, he saw an ancient and exquisite cave abode. Golden Essence Mountain, First Heaven Mansion. In front of the cave abode, there was a huge stone tablet engraved with 6 shining words. Even though millions of years had passed and the spiritual energy had dissipated greatly. However, these words still exuded a vast and majestic aura that made one tremble. An ancient immortal abode. It must be at least the abode of an immortal soul expert. Qi Shanhai was so excited that his body trembled. However, he also knew that with his inferior grade Jin Dan cultivation, there was no way he could get his hands on this cave abode. After all, ancient restrictions were no joke. One careless mistake, and he would die. Looks like I can only tell Grandpa and let him explore this cave abode. Qi Shanhai was very depressed that he had returned empty-handed from a treasure mountain. Even if he told the elders and his family to search for the treasure, how could it compare to him taking it all for himself? Feeling depressed, Qi Shanhai could only turn around and leave. Buzz! At this moment, a trembling sound could be heard. Behind the huge stone tablet, a pale light with a hint of red shot into the sky. A powerful force surged out. Could it be that the restriction has been activated? Qi Shanhai was so scared that his face turned pale and his legs turned to jelly. Clang! The light instantly landed in front of Qi Shanhai. With the sound of a sword, the light faded and turned into a snow-white 3-foot-long bone, sword covered in jagged teeth. Clang! 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 The sound of the sword seemed to be calling out to Qi Shanhai. Qi Shanhai was shocked and then overjoyed. The treasure recognizes its master. This is the treasure recognizing its master. Ha ha ha, I'm really lucky. One who survives a great disaster is destined for good fortune in the future. In the process of treasure hunting in the Western Wasteland, there had indeed been many instances where magic treasures had taken the initiative to recognize their masters. This was because the magical treasures that had been left behind in the cave for countless years had no master to refine them. They could only rely on themselves to breathe in and out vital energy, and even maintaining their own spirituality was extremely difficult. It wasn't easy for him to encounter a cultivator, so he naturally had to find a way to follow him out. Taking the initiative to recognize him as its master was a very good choice. Even if the master couldn't do it, he could just wait for the master to die and find another master. It was very common for magic treasures to change owners several times. Ha ha! Qi Shanhai, can finally hold my head high. Grabbing the white bone sword, Qi Shanhai laughed out loud when he saw the white bone sword releasing the core of the restriction and allowing him to imprint his soul imprint on it. With this magical long sword, even if it hadn't been refined yet, after mastering the central restriction, it would still be able to exert 40 to 50% of its power. A Dharma treasure was equivalent to an Essence Soul Venerable. An Essence Soul Venerable at the 4th or 5th level of strength was enough to dominate the Jin Dan world. Old Ghost Money Toad, I won't let you get away with this. Qi Shanhai raised the white bone sword and left through the tear in the void. He returned to the edge of the western wilderness. This fellow, he didn't even try to hide his strength. He just charged out with his Dharma treasure. Li was slightly surprised by Qi Shanhai's reaction. However, this was more suitable for him to use as bait. Hence, thanks to Li Yu's discreet actions, a Nethersex disciple happened to witness Qi Shanhai seeking revenge on Old Ghost Money Toad. Qi Shanhai swung his sword in high spirits and killed Old Ghost Money Toad. The 6 paths of reincarnation. That white bone sword has the 6 paths of reincarnation. Searching for the 6 paths of reincarnation had been a public mission of the Nether sect for many years. Even if they provided information, they would be handsomely rewarded. Hence, this Nether sect disciple immediately relayed the news back to his sect. You found information about the 6 paths of reincarnation, the edge of the western wilderness? It's suspected to be a bone sword unearthed from an ancient cave abode that carries the 6 paths of reincarnation. A tossed stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. The Nether sect's nascent divinity realm experts could no longer sit still. Searching for the 6 paths of reincarnation has been the Nether sect's long-cherished wish for many years. We can't afford to lose this. The Yama Emperor and the Nether Emperor, the 2 nascent divinity realm experts, made their way to the western wilderness. Based on the information provided by the disciple, the 2 of them quickly found Qi Shanhai. Ha ha! I'm blessed by the heavens. A Dharma treasure came to me and acknowledged me as its master. With the power of this Dharma treasure, who in the Jindan world is a match for me? Qi Shanhai raised the white bone blood devourer sword and laughed as he showed it off to a group of female cultivators. Tianji City in the western wilderness. This city was built on the edge of the western wilderness. It was the base of the Rogue Cultivators Alliance. As the grandson of the Rogue Cultivators Alliance's elder, Qi Changshan, Qi Shanhai was even more brazen in the Rogue Cultivators Alliance's territory. As for the cave abode that could not be opened yet, Qi Shanhai planned to open it after refining the Dharma treasure and take everything for himself. At this moment, the Yama Emperor and the Nether Emperor arrived. As expected, there's the 6 paths of reincarnation Qi. When they saw the white bone sword in Qi Shanhai's hand, the Yama Emperor and the Nether Emperor exchanged a look and nodded with a smile. With this Dharma treasure, I can do whatever I want. Qi Shanhai was still bragging when he suddenly felt a shadow above his head. A pitch-black nether ghost claw descended from the skies and grabbed him. Ah, who are you? How dare you attack me? My grandfather is Qi Changshan, the nascent divinity realm cultivator of the Rogue Cultivators Alliance. Ah! Before he could finish his sentence, Qi Shanhai felt his soul boil violently. It was as if something was madly stirring up his soul. Qi Shanhai's soul shook violently. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted instantly. Golden Essence Mountain, First Heaven Mansion. A stable void tear that leads to the cave abode. The Nether sect was straightforward in their actions. How could the Yama Emperor, who had undergone 2 heavenly tribulations, be afraid of a mere nascent divinity realm cultivator? After grabbing Qi Shanhai, he immediately used a soul-searching technique to search for the information he needed. That's the cave abode of an ancient, gold-armored heavenly lord. It must contain the 6 paths of reincarnation. After wiping away Qi Shanhai's memory, Yin Luo and the Emperor of the Underworld flew towards the western wasteland, ignoring the screams of the group of female cultivators. Following the stable void tear that Qi Shanhai discovered, the 2 of them traveled through the void and arrived at the entrance of the cave abode. It really is the cave abode of a gold-armored heavenly lord. When they saw the cave abode and sensed its aura, the Yama Emperor and the Nether Emperor were delighted. BZZT. They had just arrived at the entrance of the cave abode and were about to study the cave abode's restrictions when they suddenly heard a buzzing sound. A vast and majestic reincarnation power surged out of the cave abode. The Deva-human path, the human path, the hell path, the hungry ghost path, the Azura path, and the animal path. 6 light wheels that exuded boundless mysteries appeared above the cave abode. The light wheels intersected and spun continuously. 6 paths of reincarnation. The Yama Emperor and the Nether Emperor exclaimed when they sensed the aura. This was truly a peerless opportunity. Chapter 1052. The long-cherished wish of the Nether sect is right before our eyes. The Yama Emperor and the Nether God looked at each other and nodded solemnly. We must obtain the 6 paths of reincarnation at all costs. The Nether sect was a sect based on the 9 underworlds. Without the 6 paths of reincarnation, they could not even survive the 3rd tribulation of the Yon God, let alone become a heavenly immortal. This was related to their lives and the development of their sect. The Yama Emperor and the Nether God were prepared to lose all their Dharma treasures. Ghost Banner. He waved his hand and released a long banner filled with ghost chi. He waved it at the cave abode's restriction. The golden armored heavenly lord was a heavenly immortal corpse Tao elite. If it were not for the fact that millions of years had passed and the restriction's power had weakened, the Yama Emperor and the Nether God would not have dared to attack it. However, if they were willing to pay the price and break through the restriction, they would have a chance to obtain the 6 paths of reincarnation. The 2 of them activated their Dharma treasures and attacked with all their might. It took them 6 hours to break through the restriction at the entrance. We did it. Let's go. They activated their Dharma treasures to protect themselves and charged into the cave abode. Then, they fought all the way and went through all kinds of hardships. They even lost 2 of their Dharma treasures. The Nether God lost an arm, and the Yama Emperor had a huge wound on his back. The 2 of them finally arrived at the main hall of the cave abode. A huge seal floated in the hall. The 6 paths of reincarnation's light will spun in the air. A vast energy shrouded the hall like a canopy. Spiritual treasure. A heavenly, immortal spiritual treasure. The 2 of them were nervous and excited when they saw the seal. They were excited because the 6 paths of reincarnation was right in front of them and within their reach. As for their nervousness, this was a spiritual treasure. It was equivalent to a heavenly immortal. If it caused any commotion, the 2 of them would not be able to resist at all. 5 million years have passed. Finally, a descendant of the Netherworld's path has arrived. An ancient voice came from the seal. You broke through the restriction and came here after so many hardships. The wish of the golden-armored heavenly lord finally has a successor. The vast aura was instantly retracted, and the 6 paths of reincarnation light was sucked back into the seal. In the seal, the ancient voice sounded again. Juniors who cultivate the Tao of the Netherworld, are you willing to inherit the will of the gold-armored heavenly monarch and establish a Netherworld kingdom for this world and evolve the 6 paths of reincarnation? We are willing. Hearing this, the Yama Emperor and the god of the underworld were both shocked and overjoyed. They hurriedly knelt on the ground respectfully. Establishing the underworld and developing the 6 paths of reincarnation is our lifelong wish. If hell doesn't open, and the cycle of reincarnation doesn't open, we swear that we won't attain the Tao. Hearing this, Liu almost burst out laughing. You dare to say that you won't achieve the Tao? You also want to attain the Tao? Even if the primordial spirit of the numinous treasure was pure and innocent, how could it be so obvious that it was lying? Very good. With your determination, the golden-armored lords will finally have a successor. The ancient voice let out a hearty laugh from within the seal. Light flashed, and the seal shrank back down into the Yama Emperor's hand. A spirit treasure that has gone through 3 blight tribulations. Heavenly book of 6 paths of reincarnation? Huh? A master of the underworld? After receiving the title, the highest rank one can attain is the position of the Nether Emperor, have the strength of a heavenly immortal, and enjoy a lifespan of 1,000,000 years? After the seal landed in his hand, the central restriction was released. After the Yama Emperor inserted his soul imprint into it, he received all kinds of information from the seal of reincarnation and exclaimed in shock. Huh? With such a supreme treasure, the Nether sect will be invincible. Hearing the Yama Emperor's exclamation, the god of the underworld trembled with excitement. The Nether Emperor, the strength of a heavenly immortal, and a lifespan of 1,000,000 years without any calamities. This was a peerless opportunity, a lifespan of 1,000,000 years. Even a heavenly immortal would not have a lifespan of 1,000,000 years if he did not overcome the 5 blights of heaven and man. The 49 heavenly tribulations of the young god and the 5 blights of heaven and man had to overcome these tribulations to become a golden immortal Tao ancestor. There was not even one essence soul perfected master among billions of people. After receiving the title, one could have a lifespan of 1,000,000 years and live freely in the world. This was a peerless opportunity that countless people dreamed of. Ha ha! Our sect will prosper. Our sect will prosper. Holding the seal of reincarnation, the Yama Emperor laughed loudly. Come, let's return to the sect. We'll establish the underworld and create the 6 paths of reincarnation. The 2 of them left the cave abode and returned to the western wilderness outer area through the stable void tear. Yama, god of the underworld, how dare you injure and steal our treasures in the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance's territory? Do you think the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance is weak? The Yama Emperor and the god of the underworld had just walked out of the western wilderness when they saw the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance's elder, Chi Changshan, and 2 other essence soul perfected masters of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance. Think the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance is weak. The Yama Emperor raised the seal of reincarnation and nodded with a smile. That's right. I think the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance is weak. You've gone too far. Preposterous. Chi Changshan and the other 2 essence soul perfected masters were instantly enraged. Yama, even if you've overcome 2 heavenly tribulations, we're not that easy to bully. The 3 essence soul perfected masters activated their Dharma treasures and charged toward the Yama Emperor and the underworld. You're really easy to bully. The Yama Emperor sneered and shook his head. He raised the seal of reincarnation and smashed it forward. Boom! The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The incomparably huge power, the divine might that could destroy heaven and earth, was unstoppable. With the seal of reincarnation, another huge rift appeared in the already shattered void of the western wilderness. As for the 3 essence soul perfected masters of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance, nothing was left of them. The might of a heavenly immortal's numinous treasure is truly powerful. With the seal of reincarnation, the Nether sect is invincible. The Yama Emperor and the Nether Emperor laughed loudly. There was a flash of light as they rushed back to their lair. If they could establish the netherworld as soon as possible and evolve the cycle of reincarnation, they would be conferred with the power of a heavenly immortal and enjoy a lifespan of 1,000,000 years. The 2 of them left the western wilderness. However, the commotion of killing 3 essence soul perfected masters with a wave of their hands had shaken the world. Did the Nether sect obtain some supreme treasure in the western wilderness? If that's the case, the balance has been broken. Troubled times are coming. The righteous Taoist sects were worried about this. The Yama Emperor killed 3 essence soul perfected masters of the Itinerant Cultivator Alliance with a single attack. In the western part of the North Pole, the vast sea of blood churned endlessly. Patriarch Blood River looked in the direction of the Nether sect and frowned slightly. It seems like we'll have to get Patriarch Blood God to recover as soon as possible. The Nether sect obtained an ancient heavenly immortal's numinous treasure. In the Great North Pole's vast frost sect, Meng Nishang, the young god enlightened master, sat in the moon palace like the goddess of vast frost. The vast frost palace is also a heavenly immortal's numinous treasure. However, I wonder how many blight tribulations the Nether sect's heavenly immortal's numinous treasure has gone through. It seems like I'll have to make a trip to Penglai and Immortal Islands. As for the Penglai and Immortal Islands, nobody cared about this. In the end, Su Jifei could not keep his mouth shut. He spread the news that the Patriarch was extremely close to the 5 elements Tao ancestor. However, he was still frozen in the chaos frost ice. What do you mean extremely close? Do you know what you're saying? Literally, you flew into a rage and flew into a rage. Chapter 1053. The Nether Sect in the Een Spirit Sea A large, black, and cold island stood in the sea that was filled with Enchi. This was the nether sect's base. Fellow disciples and fellow disciples. The nether sect's long-cherished wish has been fulfilled. The Emperor of Yama stood on the high platform. He held a huge seal in his hand. 6 mystical lights spun endlessly. His aura filled the air. Today, the nether sect possesses the true technique of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Today, the nether sect possesses the seal of reincarnation that's past the 3rd blight tribulation. Today, we're going to accomplish an unprecedented feat in this world. We're going to establish hell and create the cycle of reincarnation. The nether sect will be invincible under the heavens. The Emperor of Yama raised the seal of reincarnation and stood with his hands on his back. His aura shook the heavens. Invincible under the heavens. Invincible under the heavens. Invincible under the heavens. Below the high platform, the nether sect's disciples cheered excitedly at this moment. Lay the formation. Gather the power of everyone in the sect. Together, we'll establish hell. The seal of reincarnation flew out of his hand and hovered in the air. Beams of spiritual light shot out from the seal of reincarnation and connected to the grand formation below, gathering everyone's power. Misty, streams of nether spirit chi, surged into the seal of reincarnation. A cold, pure, dark, and sacred aura slowly gathered on the seal of reincarnation. The Emperor of Yama stood in the middle of the high platform. The Nether Emperor and the Chakravarti King stood on his left and right. Heavens above. Today, Yama, the Nether Emperor, and the Chakravarti King lead the nether sect's disciples, bearing the virtues of heaven and earth, with the ancient supreme treasure, the seal of reincarnation as the foundation. We'll establish hell and create the cycle of reincarnation. We'll create an opportunity for the Een spirits to reincarnate. As the ruler of hell, we swear to be fair and just. We'll treat all Een spirits equally. Heaven and earth will bear witness. As the ruler of hell, we swear to be fair in our rewards and punishments. Those who are virtuous will be rewarded, and those who are wicked will be punished. Heaven and earth will bear witness. As the ruler of hell, we swear to uphold ourselves and diligently cultivate virtues. We won't show favoritism. Heaven and earth will bear witness. When the 3 vows were made, the heavens and earth shook the heavens. A pure, deep, and sacred aura condensed between heaven and earth. Virtue, virtue, great virtue. In a trance, countless Een spirits and remnant souls in the entire world were kowtowing devoutly and praising loudly. Establishing hell. Evolve into reincarnation. With a loud shout, the Yama Emperor and the other 2 gathered all their strength and poured it into the seal of reincarnation. Boom! An earth-shattering boom rang out. The entire world was shaking, and the entire world was rumbling. The seal of samsara burst out with endless radiance, and a huge force violently erupted. A beam of light that was cold and pure, cold and tranquil, dark and sacred, suddenly blasted into the ground and connected with the origin of the earth. Buzz, in the depths of the earth, a quiet and dark space slowly opened. The seal of reincarnation exploded with a bright halo, sweeping up all the nether sect's disciples and bringing them into this dark and deep space. Boom! The seal of samsara suddenly exploded, turning into endless light that merged into the dark and deep space. Rumble! On the dark ground, a majestic and enormous palace rose from the ground. The 6 light wheels formed 6 bottomless wells in the palace. Mysterious and unfathomable radiance emerged from the wells. This was the reincarnation passage of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Splash! With the sound of water, a turbid river spread out from the void, penetrating the earth and flowing through it. This was the river Styx. The hell was established, reincarnation evolved, and the river Styx was connected. This newly established hell had been integrated into the entire hell system of the void universe. Clang! The sound of the heavens was vast and mighty. In the hell, a pitch-black and sacred radiance soared into the sky and formed a large seal in midair. It was still the seal of reincarnation, but there were differences. When the seal fell into his hand, the Yama Emperor instantly understood its function. This was the imperial jade seal that controlled the hell and the hell. This was authority and also an imperial conferment. I see. The Yama Emperor held up the seal with a solemn and serious expression and declared loudly, "From today onwards, I am the Yama Emperor. I am a supreme of the hell." As soon as he finished speaking, the imperial conferment was applied to him. A golden emperor robe appeared on the Yama Emperor's body. He wore a flat imperial crown on his head and an imperial robe. Vast divine radiance covered the sky and earth. He was sacred and majestic. At this moment, the Yama Emperor had become a heavenly immortal. He was the Yama Emperor of the Hell who had lived for 1,000,000 years without any disasters or tribulations. When they saw this, all the Nether Sect disciples were surprised and delighted. As expected, there were endless benefits to establishing the Hell and evolving the reincarnation cycle. Greetings, Yama Emperor. At this moment, if the Nether Sect members still did not know what to do, they would be idiots. Rise, my subjects. With the imperial conferment, the Yama Emperor had officially become the Yama Emperor of the Hell. Today, we have done our best to establish the Hell. My subjects, you will all be rewarded. Holding up the seal, the Yama Emperor began to infect the officials of the Hell. The Emperor of the Dead is the Nether River Emperor. He will be in charge of the river Styx and guard the 18 levels of Hell. The Reincarnation Taoist will be the Reincarnation Emperor. He will be in charge of the reincarnation of all living beings. Imperial Conferment. With this round of rewards, everyone in the Nether Sect received the divine titles of the Hell and became deities of the Hell. Judges, black and white impermanents, Netherworld envoys, Netherworld soldiers, and other divine titles were completed. The structure of the Hell was complete. Gods, take your place. Stepping into the Hell's palace, the Yama Emperor sat down on the dragon throne and pressed the seal in his hand on the table before him. Their auras connected. Everything in the Hell was in his hands. The Hell is established. The reincarnation cycle is complete. The gods are in their places. Send my order. Open the gates of the Hell and take in the souls. With this order, the gates of the Hell officially opened. The Hell was officially operational. The Hell was officially established. Clang! Heaven and earth resonated. The heavens praised. Endless merit and nether merit descended from the heavens. The virtuous chi transformed into golden lotuses, while the virtuous chi transformed into white lotuses that floated down from the void. For a time, the entire Hell was filled with dazzling lights. Heavenly flowers bloomed everywhere, and auspicious vapors rose. In the eyes of the Yuqian cultivators, countless rays of light fell from the sky like raindrops on the sea of souls. The eerie sea became sacred and glorious like an immortal realm. Is this merit from the heavens? Upon seeing this, the expressions of the cultivators from the various sects turned grim. If the Nether Sect's ghost Tao cultivators who were neither human nor ghost wanted to gain merit, they would have to establish the underworld and perfect the cycle of reincarnation. With this momentum and the heavenly immortals' spiritual treasure, the Nether Sect's power will increase greatly. I'm afraid it'll be difficult to stop them. A group of knowledgeable people were deeply worried. However, what? Apart from the black and white impermanents and the Netherworld soldiers, the other gods of the Netherworld can't leave the Hell? What? Those who violate the 3 great O's will be stripped of their divine titles? What? We have to judge the merits and demerits of all souls. We have to reincarnate or imprison them according to the laws. We can't slack off. We don't even have holidays. We have to work like this for 1,000,000 years until we die. King quit, all right? What? I can't quit. The Yama Emperor overturned the table with a kick. Just like that, the Nether sect was duped into the fire pit. Chapter 1054. Is this the virtue of the underworld? A pure white radiance lingered on Li Yu's fingertips. The power contained in the aura of the virtue of the underworld made Li Yu speechless. As expected, the virtue of the underworld is only useful to ghosts. The meaning of the virtue of the living is only to protect the descendants. Fortunately, Li Yu didn't need the virtue of the underworld to play a role. Otherwise, spending so much effort to get something that he didn't need would really be a waste of effort. All I need are the rules. Observing the process of establishing the underworld and giving birth to the virtue of the underworld is enough. Until now, he had finished analyzing the virtues of the saints, merit, and underworld. He was still missing the virtues and morals. Morals could be obtained by Yushan Shao, spreading the great Tao. But the virtues, I'm still a little unsure about the virtues. In Li Yu's opinion, the effects of the virtues didn't seem to be much different from providence. They both increased the chances of obtaining various benefits. I still have to observe for a while. He looked around the various worlds and chose some people with virtues to observe. Li Yu wanted to use this method to figure out the true meaning of the virtues. Old sir, you have so many children and grandchildren. You are really blessed. In a certain mortal world, an ordinary old man held a walking stick and teased his children and grandchildren with trembling hands. The passers-by were all praising him with smiles on their faces. This old man, who was about to die, was a person with virtues. However, this person wasn't very rich. In fact, his family was a little poor. If he had virtues, why was he still in such a situation? Many children, many blessings. The old man smiled and patted the heads of the children beside him. His face was full of happiness. Blessings? I see. Li Yu was enlightened. The virtues had no other effect but to make people happy. The effects of the virtues varied from person to person. Even if it was an ordinary mortal, even a poor mortal, as long as you felt happy, the virtues had already been achieved. Sometimes, happiness only needed a sentence to make people feel very happy. Is this the difference between the virtues and the luck? Li Yu nodded, but there were still many doubts in his heart. How do virtues and luck come about? What did he do to earn his blessings? What do you need to do to get luck? Looks like I'll have to spend some time studying it. After retracting his gaze, Li Yu began to think about ways to study merit and providence. Actually, there are a few worlds that specialize in studying the Tao of providence. A certain Almighty had created a series of worlds. There's Yi Ding, who revolutionized the world, and Emperor Qing, who killed his younger sister to attain the Tao. These worlds have studied the Tao of providence very deeply. Li Yu shook his head. Unfortunately, that's another world. It doesn't help me much right now. If I can't figure out the Tao of providence in this world, I can only go to the Azure Thearka's world and kill my sister to prove my Tao. For Li Yu, time was running out. It was too much of a waste of time to travel to another world just to study providence. Therefore, he had to do his best to complete this research in this world. According to the laws of this world, the Tao of fortune can be refined into the Tao of destiny. Everything was predestined by fate, destined by the heavens. This kind of great Tao mystical power is still very valuable. When the time comes, heaven and earth will work together. When the time comes, the hero will not be free. Time is also fate. These were all providence and destiny. In the myriad worlds, there's a profession that specializes in studying providence and destiny. That's fortune-telling. Li Yu had also studied the Book of Changes in the Yang God world. Besides, with Li Yu's current realm, he could see through the past and future of the timeline. He could also see through all the causes of karma. If Li Yu were to do fortune-telling, he would naturally be able to do it. However, I still have to know the reason. I have to know what's going on and why it's going on. That's what I want to study. So, I still have to play the role of a fortune teller. By comparing the fate trajectories of countless people, observing the rise and fall of providence, the ups and downs of life, and the vicissitudes of life, he finally concluded that providence, which was also the rules of destiny. He stretched out his hand and slapped his forehead. Billions of rays of brilliance rushed out from the top of his head and floated down, rushing into the billions of worlds. Liu divided his consciousness into billions of parts and released billions of souls. He played the role of a fortune teller in the heavens, telling the fortunes of people. Fortune telling, I'll be able to do it for free. In a world that had fallen into the age of Dharma and dissipated spiritual energy, in the capital of a celestial empire, an old Taoist wearing linen clothes and holding a long banner shook a bell and swaggered through the streets. Great Ming? This world is really interesting. It's also somewhat similar to a dynasty in the central plains of the Divine Prefecture. It was also invaded by foreign enemies, and there was also an internal rebellion. Now, the Great Ming Empire was in a precarious situation. The chaos of war was imminent. There was a defeat at the front, and the people of the capital were in a state of panic. Even Liu's fortune-telling business was greatly affected, and no one paid attention to him. Hey, fortune teller, come here. Our master wants to take care of your business. In a small tavern on the outskirts of the imperial city, a sharp voice rang out. It was a middle-aged man with a pale face and no beard. Huh. So that's how it is. Not asking about the common people, but ghosts and gods. Interesting. Liu, who was disguised as an old Taoist in linen clothes, nodded with a smile on his face and walked into the tavern. There were not many people in the tavern. A middle-aged man in a green robe with a thin face sat in the hall. The others were the waiter, the shopkeeper, and a few ordinary men in ordinary clothes. However, Liu could see that everyone here was in disguise, even without using his divine ability. There was no waiter or shopkeeper. They were all in disguise, and they were all just protecting the man in the green robe. Are you good at divination? The man in the green robe looked tired. He raised his eyes and looked at Liu. He smiled and said, You said that it's not free. Then, can you tell me? I am good at divination. Please say a word, and I will be able to calculate it. Divination? Then let's test the word gold. The man in the green robe dipped his finger in the water and wrote the word gold on the table. His greatest enemy in life was Gene, so he wrote the word Gene as soon as he wrote it. The king of men, so it's the emperor of the dynasty. The old Taoist in the linen clothes smiled and bowed. I greet the emperor. You do have some skills. The man in the green robe smiled. Continue to decipher the word. The word gold. The king of men is willing to sacrifice himself. His Majesty is afraid that a great calamity is about to befall him. How dare you? As soon as these words were said, angry shouts sounded from all around. The others in the tavern stood up one after another and reached out to grab the hidden long sabers. Retreat! The emperor of the Great Ming Dynasty waved his hand and ordered everyone to retreat. Then he looked at Liu. I wonder if you have a way to avoid the calamity? There are no absolutes in the world. There's always a glimmer of hope. Liu chuckled and waved his hand. A line of water rushed out of the teapot in front of the man in the green robe. It meandered like a dragon and condensed into a line of words in midair. Tomorrow at noon, worship the heavens at the Temple of Heaven. Worship the heavens. The emperor of the Great Ming Dynasty was stunned. He suddenly realized that the Taoist in the linen clothes in front of him had disappeared in an instant. Immortal? At this time, when the divine land is in turmoil, an immortal has descended to the mortal world to enlighten me? The fate of the Great Ming Dynasty is indeed not over. The fate of the country was also one of the fates. His Majesty Emperor, you was going to do an experiment again. Chapter 1055. In this Dharma-ending age, the great Tao does not appear and vitality does not exist. The only thing left is providence. Providence belonged to destiny, and destiny ran through from beginning to end. Destiny is also order and rules. This is very valuable for my study of the Tao of order. Liu, the avatar of the linen-clothed old Taoist, was already prepared to mess around in this world and study the nation's providence. The next day, the current emperor really led the civil and military officials to hold a grand sacrificial ceremony at the Temple of Heaven. Then nothing happened. Don't ask about the common people. Ask about ghosts and gods. The emperor is immoral, superstitious, and lazy in politics. All kinds of accusations and rumors quickly spread throughout the world. Thus, the so-called Great Ming Nation suddenly had a huge drop in providence and national providence. The nation's providence is related to the people's hearts. Big Boss Li, who stood the emperor up without the slightest bit of apology, was sitting in the clouds, carefully observing the changes in the dynasty's providence and analyzing the root cause. Those who win the hearts of the people will win the world. It seems that the path of the nation's providence is related to the hearts of the people. The nation's providence came from the hearts of the people, and the will of heaven is the will of the people. The so-called mandate of heaven, of the country, was the convergence of the wishes of the people under the rule. The hearts of the people were the root cause of the nation's providence. Then, Liu turned his head to look at the emperor who was sighing in the palace and smiled. "I'll give you a mandate of heaven and see if there are any changes in providence." He reached out and waved his hand, and there was a loud boom in the sky. Auspicious light flowed in the sky, and endless immortal light fell like rain. Celestial music lingered in the air, and flowers fell from the sky. The endless beautiful scenery of the immortal palace appeared in the clouds. What is this? At this moment, everyone in the world was stunned by this strange phenomenon. Dong! The sound of heaven was vast and mighty, and it spread to the 9 heavens. The brilliant immortal gate slowly opened, and a group of immortals walked out of the gate. They stepped on auspicious clouds and flew from the sky, floating in the sky above the imperial city. "I am the messenger of the heavenly court." At the front, a man with a tall hat and a wide belt, with an ancient appearance, held a brilliant golden scroll in his hand and shouted in the direction of the imperial palace. "Yu Huang de Tianzuan has an imperial decree. Where is the emperor of the lower realm? Quickly come and receive the decree." Yu Huang de Tianzuan? Heavenly decree? The emperor, who was sighing in the palace, suddenly heard this voice and hurriedly rushed out of the palace. The heavens have finally responded to me. Thinking back to the sacrificial ceremony at the Temple of Heaven, the emperor was enlightened. Yes, a day in heaven is a year on earth. After I prayed to the heavens, the heavenly court immediately issued a decree. However, many days have already passed in the mortal world. He hurriedly tidied up his clothes and stepped onto the heavenly altar respectfully. The emperor bowed down and said, "Zhu Jiao, Prime Minister of Ashan, greets the heavenly angel." "Emperor, please rise." The heavenly court emissary smiled and nodded. Then he picked up the golden scroll in his hand and slowly opened it. "Yu Huang de Tianzuan has a decree." The emperor of the lower realm was diligent in handling the affairs of the country. He worked hard to govern the country and cultivated benevolent governance. His virtues were commendable: special reward, favorable weather, bountiful harvest. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden heavenly decree exploded with a boom, turning into countless rays of light that fell from the sky like rain. The immortal light was like rain, a sweet rain falling from the sky. All the people of the world shared the grace of the heavens. Bathed in this sweet rain, everyone in the world felt the vitality in their bodies surging, and their diseases were all cured. The blind could see the light again, and the deaf could hear the sound again. More importantly, in this great Ming country where half of the country was facing drought and famine, the moment this sweet rain fell, the dry land became moist. The dry and barren land became verdant in the blink of an eye. The dry rice and wheat were rejuvenated and grew rapidly, blooming, earing, until golden and heavy rice ears covered the fields. The whole world was in a state of bountiful harvest. Long live, long live, long live. At this moment, whether it was the rebels who were rebelling, the army that was suppressing the rebellion, or the countless poor people, They all knelt on the ground in surprise and fear. The country was favored by the heavens. The emperor diligently cultivated benevolent governance and was a wise ruler for all ages. For a moment, the hearts of the people were yearning for peace in the world, and the four seas were peaceful. The destiny of the country was like a brocade of flowers and adding oil to the fire. The prosperity of the destiny was rarely seen in the world. It is indeed like this. The one who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. The will of the heavens is the will of the people. After this torment, he finally understood the destiny of the country. This clone returned to the main body, but there were countless other clones that continued to research. After all, the path of destiny could be sublimated into the path of destiny. This was worth researching. A country's destiny, a sect's destiny, and a person's destiny are all different. There is even the so-called suppressing destiny. This also needs to be researched. The billions of clones fell into different worlds, and they were researching destiny in different countries, sects, and mortal worlds. You said that you can calculate all the heavenly secrets? In a certain mortal world, Liyu's clone had just tricked a scholar, telling him to pay attention to a person called Zhu Yingtai when he went to school. After walking out of the city gate, Liyu's clone was stopped by a young man with 2 swords on his back at the side of a small mountain. The heavenly secrets cannot be calculated. The world-famous white-clothed divine form had a faint smile on his face. Honored sir, what advice do you have for me? Aren't you the white-clothed divine form, able to calculate all the heavenly secrets? Can't you calculate what I am here for? The sword-bearing man looked at Liyu mockingly and pursed his lips. I'm afraid that you are just trying to trick a mortal. Want to calculate? That is not difficult. The white-clothed divine form chuckled. The person is by the mountain, and there is the word immortal here. It can be seen that you are an immortal cultivator. The swords on your back are crossed. This is the word kill. Your killing intent has been aroused. Ha ha ha. The sword-bearing young man laughed loudly. Not bad, not bad, as expected of the white-clothed divine form. Unfortunately, you should not have divined that I was the one who stole the heavenly profound treasure. Thus, I can only send you on your way. Of course, you will be punished by the heavens. With a wave of his hand, the twin swords on the young man's back whistled out like 2 rainbows, slashing down on Liyu's clone. Then, pooh! A sword light whizzed out from behind the cliff. With a twirl, the twin swordsman's head flew off and fell to the ground. Harboring evil intentions and carrying a sharp blade behind your back. This is the word death, huh? The white-clothed divine form shook his head indifferently and turned to leave. The Tao of Providence is really interesting. This man with twin swords on his back had always been very lucky. He could even pick up treasures while walking. When they formed a team to search for treasures, his teammates were bound to die, and the treasures would fall into his hands. Thus, this person became Liyu's research subject. Let his luck be extremely good, and he obtained the heavenly profound treasure that everyone in the entire cultivation world dreamed of. Then, he leaked the news, causing him to be hunted down. He studied whether luck could allow him to turn things around in a situation of certain death. Then, this person sacrificed himself for Liyu's research career. Chapter 1056. I'm afraid I'll still need some time to study fate and sublimate it into the path of destiny. Releasing billions of clones and tossing about in the various worlds, he collected many samples and had many references. Liu also had a lot of insights into the path of fate. The catalog of fate annihilation in the Prime Clear collection was the opposite of the path of fate. This was fate annihilation, it was destruction in doomsday and calamity. The path of fate annihilation also had a remarkable ability that could cut off the fate of others. This was also very helpful for Li Yu's study of the path of fate. However, to sublimate it into destiny and become everything is destiny was still very difficult. In my opinion, destiny is also a type of order. In fact, it is a representation of order. Everything in the world, everything in the world was in destiny. To study and understand such things, one had to analyze everything in the world and the connections between everything in the world. This connection could only be order. The so-called destiny is actually an inevitability under the operation of order. Therefore, analyzing the path of destiny is very related to my analysis of the path of order. It's worth spending time to study. Releasing his clones to study fate, he could not stop the other research projects. It's time for Yu Shanxiao to preach the Tao. With a thought, little Li Yu, who was cultivating in the Penglai sect, smiled and got up. Taking out a talisman, he contacted Yu Shanxiao. Evil woman, how's your cultivation? Being tricked by Li Yu to study gravity and wanting to walk the path of strength, Yu Shanxiao should be frowning during this period, right? Don't be noisy. I'm very annoyed. Studying gravity was considered a beginner, but the structure of matter in this world did not have such things as atoms. The more she studied, the more confused Yu Shanxiao became. You're also a half-step golden immortal. After cultivating for so many years, you're building a cart behind closed doors. Don't tell me you don't understand this principle. Go out and see more. You'll be able to find the pattern. Li Yu wanted Yu Shanxiao to study morality for him, so he naturally had to trick her into going out. That's true. Yu Shanxiao nodded. All right, I'll go out for a walk. I heard from that brat, Su Zhifei, that your relationship with the five elements Tao, ancestor, isn't shallow. After I leave, I don't have to worry about Yu Yuqian being targeted. For so many years, Yu Shanxiao had been cooped up at home. Wasn't it because she had to guard this dilapidated Yu Yuqian? Since Li Yu had a good relationship with Tao ancestor five elements, after Yu Shanxiao left, he did not have to worry about Yu Yuqian being tormented by others. Right, I'll give you a hint. In the various worlds, there were many worlds that didn't have the legacies of the orthodox great Tao. Go and preach. Creating a great Tao for a world. You will gain a lot from it. These words were not nonsense. To enlighten all living beings, one would be blessed with morality. The qi of virtue was the qi of wisdom. It was the blessing of the great Tao. Obtaining the qi of virtue was very helpful to Yu Shanxiao in comprehending the great Tao of strength. Got it. Yu Shanxiao waved her hand. With a flash of her figure, she left the Yu Yutian world and headed towards the various worlds to search for her own opportunities. Yu Shanxiao was still very concerned about Li Yu's hint about preaching the Tao. This junior brother actually had a relationship with the five elements Tao ancestor. His background in his previous life must have been frightening. The hint given by such a person naturally couldn't be ignored. After Yu Shanxiao leaves Yu Yutian and loses Yu Shanxiao's protection, the otherworldly demons and the heavenly immortals of the various worlds will become interested in Yu Yutian. Li Yu raised his head and looked at the broken Yu Yuqian world membrane. A trace of a smile appeared on his face. Mending the heavens, this is a great merit. Li Yu slapped the table and roared, Little Su, come here. Ancestral Master. Su Zhifei's figure instantly appeared in front of Li Yu. Ancestral Master, what are your orders? Yu Shanxiao has already left Yu Yutian and is heading to the various worlds to search for a Tao integration opportunity. Without Yu Shanxiao's protection, the otherworldly demons will definitely come and invade. Li Yu smiled and pointed to the sky. So, your troubles are coming. Ancestral Master Shanxiao is going to Tao integration. Su Zhifei's focus wasn't on the otherworldly demons at all. With the Ancestral Master here, why worry about the otherworldly demons? Bastard. Li Yu slapped him. This is your opportunity. Yu Yutian has been broken to this day, and its world membrane is damaged. It can't resist the otherworldly demons. Mending the heavens is a great merit. Yes, yes. Su Zhifei was a heavenly immortal after all. How could he not know the effects of merit? With merit protecting one's body, no evil could invade. Even tribulation transcendence would be easier. But mending the heavens? How should we proceed? World membranes were naturally formed by heaven and earth. Who knew how to repair them? This is the method of mending the heavens. Li Yu casually tossed out a jade slip then waved a hand at Su Jifei. Refining the world membrane requires too many materials. Your sect won't be able to handle it all. Inform the other sect you're on good terms with, and have them work together. The method of refining world membranes was no longer a difficult problem in the various worlds. After the floating Rome Merchant Guild had collected countless materials, Liu casually picked a method with a single effect that didn't require too many materials and tossed it to Su Jifei. The exalted 33 skies. Su Jifei was dumbfounded when he saw the method of refining the world membrane. Each of the 33 heavenly canopies was guarded by a celestial emperor who commanded millions of heavenly gods. Once the 33 skies were refined, there would be 33 heavenly immortal-level celestial emperors and more than 30 million heavenly generals and heavenly soldiers. If that was the case, who would still cultivate? Why not just become a heavenly god? More importantly, such a supreme treasure. Can we refine it? It'll take at least a few million years for a deity tablet to form between the heavens and the earth. For the time being, there'll only be a few heavenly soldiers. Liu had already turned the Nether sect into the god of hell. He was no longer interested in deity tablets. He only gave the exalted 33 skies because he thought it was interesting. It's necessary to have heavenly soldiers patrol the world membrane. Su Jifei nodded. I'll gather the major sects and discuss the mending of the heavens. After saying this, Su Jifei bade farewell and left. The mending of the heavens plan is to obtain merit points. Liu had studied merit points before. There was not much research value in it. However, the relationship between merit points and karmic luck was worth studying. I've never heard of a person with merit being unlucky. The effect of merit points on karmic luck was one of Liu's research topics. I'll leave the research to my main body. I should focus on my cultivation. Although he had studied it from many sources, he did gain some results. However, Liu did not forget to let this clone cultivate in this world. He would create the great Daos of order and matter, and eventually obtain the laws of heaven and earth. Everything would be included in the great Daos of order. Finally, he would comprehend the chaos and disorder. Going from order to disorder was Liu's first hurdle in comprehending the chaos. Chapter 1057. The heavenly demons are still useful. In this void universe, there was a group of creatures that were born from the power of darkness and filth of heaven and earth. They represented the essence of destruction and slaughter. Therefore, the heavenly demons were responsible for destroying the world. To any world, they were the mortal enemies of all living beings. Liu looked up at the sky. Outside the world membrane, groups of ferocious and violent figures were already faintly discernible. Without the suppression of the Shunshao Palace, the heavenly demons were already ready to make a move. It will take decades to refine the Daluo 33 heavens, even with the combined efforts of several sections. During this period of time, someone will naturally need to guard the world membrane and resist the invasion of the heavenly demons. Turning his head to look at the underworld, a strange smile appeared on Liu's face. Since I've become the god of the underworld, I naturally have to contribute to this world. This is a good opportunity to earn merit. With a thought, he sent a message to the seal of Samsara of the underworld. Buzz. In the underworld, the Emperor of Hell and the others who were working diligently suddenly discovered a brilliant light erupting from the seal of Samsara. A brilliant golden announcement slowly unfolded in midair of the underworld. This world is being invaded by the extraterrestrial demons. The god of the underworld is hereby ordered to guard the world and resist the demons. Seeing this golden announcement, everyone in the underworld looked at each other. Was this the business trip? As the god of the underworld, he worked himself to death every day to deal with the problem of ghosts. Now he was given another task. More importantly, who was the one who issued this edict? If they didn't figure out this problem, another edict would come in the future, and they would have to work themselves to death again? What's going on? The Emperor of Hell grabbed the seal of Samsara and asked in confusion. The god of the underworld is originally a part of heaven and earth. If this world is destroyed by the extraterrestrial demons and the underworld no longer exists, all of you will die. As for who issued the edict, no one. This is the will of the heavens. The voice of the seal of Samsara sounded in the ears of the gods of the underworld. The will of the heavens. Everyone smiled helplessly. They thought that after receiving the title, they would enjoy 100 years of freedom. Who would have thought? How was this carefree and unfettered? This was the rhythm of working oneself to death. We can't afford to slack off when it comes to matters of the underworld. The Yama Emperor sighed. The three of us will take turns to guard the barrier and resist the invasion of the heavenly demons. After becoming a god, he could only be ordered around by others. He really didn't have any freedom. Then, with a wave of his hand, Emperor Yinluo led his troops out of hell and towards the boundary of heaven and earth. That is, when a streak of black light shot out of the Een Soul Sea, a group of people with powerful auras and bright armor shot into the sky, shocking countless people. The Nether sect is heading to the world membrane to fight against the heavenly devils. The experts of the various sects who were discussing the heaven-mending plan looked up and saw the scene in the sky. They were both shocked and relieved. The Nether sect has become the Een god of the Netherworld. Since he had accepted the priesthood, he naturally had to contribute to the world. With him guarding the world membrane, we can focus on refining the exalted 33 heavens. The experts of the various sects smiled and nodded. With the Nether sect at the front, we won't have to expend so much effort. We should refine it slowly, meticulously, and steadily. Only then can we strive for perfection and ensure that nothing goes wrong. Naturally, the experts of the various sects had a tacit understanding and set the Nether sect up. The Yama Emperor has the strength of a heavenly immortal. After all, naturally, it won't be a problem for him to fend off the heavenly demons. After tricking Yu Shinshao away, Liu, naturally, would not allow anything to happen to this world. It was only right that the Nether sect was sent to fend off the heavenly demons. Kill. Emperor Yinluo waved his sleeves. The seal of reincarnation in his hand suddenly shot out. The vast radiance swept out. The heavenly demons in front of him were instantly wiped out. All hail the Emperor! All hail the Emperor! His teammates cheered behind him. This made Emperor Yinluo in high spirits. He had the strength of a heavenly immortal, but he had been traveling at night. He could only hole up in hell and did not even have a chance to show off. Now he could finally show off his might. At this moment, Emperor Yinluo suddenly felt that guarding the world barrier was a good thing. Ha ha! Wipe out the heavenly demons. Emperor Yinluo laughed loudly and led his team to kill their way over. Li was also laughing. Thousand-eyed heavenly demon. Single-horned fiend dragon, white-boned heavenly demon. Thousand poisons toad demon. Dark Een moonlight demon. Great solar true yang demon. Mysterious yellow exquisite demon. And free incarnation heavenly demon. What a great harvest! With a single strike from the seal of reincarnation, the group of demons was wiped out. Then, Liu, who had tampered with the seal of reincarnation, naturally harvested these heavenly demons. The other heavenly demons are fine. The dark Een moonlight demon and great solar true yang demon can evolve Een and Yang Qi. The mysterious yellow exquisite demon can evolve mysterious yellow Qi. I have to study this thing. The heavenly demons were born to uphold the laws of heaven and earth. Although they were a little deformed and showed signs of growing crooked, however, they were still of research value to Liu. In fact, the otherworldly demons are the first native creatures born in this void universe. The five-colored peacock, the dragon race, the phoenix race, and other things could be considered this type of creature. However, some grew crooked and some grew straight. Those that grew crooked became heavenly demons, and those that grew straight became golden immortal Tao ancestors. Because they were born to uphold the laws of Tao, they turned into creatures that only knew how to kill and destroy. These heavenly demons had no chance of attaining the Tao. Sky fiends who had yet to attain the Tao would naturally not take this path. Therefore, the yin and yang qi of the dark yin moonlight demon and the great solar true yang demon, as well as the mysterious yellow exquisite demon's mysterious yellow qi, were all treated as ordinary innate divine abilities by people. In fact, to others, this is really an ordinary innate divine ability. However, I can decompose, refine, and decipher the essence. In the resource warehouse, a five-colored brilliance swept out. The dark yin moonlight demon, the great solar true yang demon, and the mysterious yellow exquisite demon were instantly decomposed and refined into pure origins. Only the yin and yang qi and the mysterious yellow qi were left. It just so happens that I can decipher this world's yin and yang and the mysterious yellow great Tao, although it's only a part of it. Heavenly demons that grew crooked naturally did not possess a complete great Tao. Otherwise, they would be Tao ancestors, not heavenly demons. The other heavenly demons only have the ordinary evil Tao. However, free incarnation heavenly demon is more interesting. Free incarnation heavenly demon could infiltrate people's hearts. Free incarnation could fuse itself with the desires of others, magnifying those desires, and then provoking the cultivator's inner demons. For free incarnation heavenly demon, fusing with one's desires and feeling the joy within was the greatest enjoyment. For hundreds of millions of years, free incarnation heavenly demons had infiltrated the minds of countless cultivators. They had also collected the great Tao that countless cultivators had comprehended and passed down generation after generation, turning into a divine ability. Free incarnation art. This divine ability could demonstrate the great Tao of heaven and earth, causing cultivators to unknowingly become engrossed in it. Then it would be over. To me, free incarnation art is also a demonstration of the great Tao of heaven and earth, as well as the laws of heaven and earth. Although it's incomplete, it can still be analyzed. With a wave of his hand, the heavenly demons were decomposed. The various great Tao laws were displayed before Li Yu. He studied them carefully and felt that he had gained some insights. The Nether sect kept killing heavenly demons and kept sending research materials to Li Yu. What a nice person. Chapter 1058. 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. The Nether sect had guarded the realm membrane for 10 years. Li Yu had also studied it for 10 years. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye in the heavens. There were no changes at all. However, some people's changes were more shocking. Nascent divinity? Patriarch, you've attained the nascent divinity? The 14-year-old Li Yu was already a handsome young man. In 10 years, he went from Qi drawing to the divine soul, Jin Dan, and Yin divinity. Then he broke through the life and death threshold and ascended to the nascent divinity realm. This speed frightened Su Zhifei, who was focused on refining the Daluo 33 heavens out of his closed-door cultivation. TCH, do you know who the Patriarch is? Ascending to the nascent divinity realm is a piece of cake. Li Yu waved his hand nonchalantly. In truth, apart from ascending to the Jin Dan, merging the dragon and tiger, and connecting heaven and man, which allowed Li Yu to comprehend a portion of the laws of heaven and earth, the other realms were not worth much. Only by ascending to the Tao integration realm within 100 years could Li Yu come into contact with the Tao of this world, which was also the laws of heaven and earth. Yes, yes. Su Zhifei was relieved when he remembered that the Patriarch was at the eternal realm. Patriarch, what do you plan to do next? The Patriarch must have something to do since he had ascended to the nascent divinity realm. Su Zhifei hastily asked to see if there was anything he could do. There's no need. Just focus on refining the realm membrane. Patriarch, you're going out for a stroll. Li Yu smiled. He took a step forward and flew away in a beam of light. I'm going to trick people again. How can I bring you around for a stroll? It'll affect my image if you see me tricking people. Liu chuckled inwardly. He shot into the sky. In a place called the Great World of Seven Immortals, my main body found a very interesting fellow. That fellow called Young Master Duotian was completely the main character, although he was still in a trashy state right now. In the future, he would truly have magical treasures automatically delivered to him, and beautiful women would mindlessly throw themselves at him. Wherever he went, he would be the target of everyone's amazement and envy. His luck was so great that he was practically a main character model. This kind of person is the target of my research. Of course, I have to trick him. Oh, give him an opportunity. Following the space-time coordinates given by his main body, Liu used a transrealm divine ability, broke through the void, and rushed to the great world of the Seven Immortals. When the cultivators of this void universe were in the spirit realm, they roamed the heavens in search of opportunities to ascend to the primordial spirit realm. The ability to travel between realms was not rare. Therefore, even though Liu's divine art was a little faster, it didn't attract the repulsion of heaven and earth. This is the world of an extraneous Tao, primordial spirit. There were no legacies of the orthodox Taoism. Yu Shunxiao even did an experiment here. After passing through the boundary, Liu landed on the ground. This is the Tian Yuan prefecture of the Seven Immortals' Great World. In front of him was a bustling city. This was the destination of Liu's trip. Someone broke off the engagement with the eldest son of the Fong family. So it really was broken off? That good-for-nothing Fong Chi's meridians are weak, and his cultivation talent is extremely poor. Miss Liu is a cultivation genius. How can such a good-for-nothing be worthy of Miss Liu? That's right. That's right. As soon as Liu walked through the city gates, he heard the passers-by discussing the matter of the eldest son of the Fong family being broken off the engagement. Broken off the engagement? Ha! He really is the model of a main character. A good-for-nothing and broken off the engagement. Isn't this the basic configuration of a main character? Liu laughed strangely and looked in the direction of the Fong family. As expected, he saw the light of Providence hidden in the darkness, like a dragon hiding in the abyss. The golden unicorn is not a fish in a pond. This son of Providence will soon meet the wind and the clouds. Shaking his head with a smile, Liu walked toward the Fong family's residence at a leisurely pace. Fong Chi, we are not from the same world. In the living room of the Fong family's residence, a beautiful young woman expressionlessly spoke to a skinny and stubborn young man. You can't cultivate, but I have extraordinary talent and have the potential to reach the Jindan level. A mortal's lifespan is no more than 100 years, but once I reach the Qi drawing realm, I will have a lifespan of 200 years. What about a Jindan? What about a Dharma idol? Or even an immortal primordial soul, true immortal? There is a difference between mortals and immortals. I have already joined the Seven Mountain Alliance and asked for a decree from my master. The young woman waved her hand and handed over a shining golden talisman. Break off the engagement. This is my will, and also the will of my master, the Seven Mountain Alliance's Jin Dan Grandmaster Pu Yuhua. The golden talisman emanated a powerful aura. It was the divine might of a Grandmaster Jin Dan. Under this pressure, everyone in the Fong family's residence turned pale. Break off the engagement? And use the might of a Jin Dan to threaten me? The skinny young man gritted his teeth. The humiliation and anger in his heart caused his entire body to tremble. Don't regret this. The young man stared coldly at the young woman, then waved his sleeves. Break off the engagement. I agree. With that, the young man turned and left. TSK, TSK. He didn't even say something as classic as don't bully a poor young man. How could the break off the engagement not include don't bully a poor young man? Bad review. I must give him a bad review. Liu had been watching all this, but hadn't heard the famous phrase. He shook his head. Father, I want to go back to the ancestral home for a while. Having suffered such great humiliation, the young man, named Fong Chi, wanted to leave this place of grief. You can go back to the ancestral home for a while. Father Fong understood his son's feelings and nodded in agreement. Ancestral home? Ha! Liu laughed strangely. Humiliated and heartbroken, you returned to the ancestral home, only to discover a precious treasure left behind by your ancestors. This is the treatment of a main character. With a sweep of his soul, he learned the location of the Fong family's ancestral home from the souls of the Fong family servants. Liu's figure flashed as he left the city and rushed to the Fong family's ancestral home. I won't cheat you for now. I want to see the changes in your providence. You are now a hidden dragon in the Abyss Providence. Let's see how you become a flying dragon in the Sky Providence. Concealing himself, he landed in the Fong family's ancestral home. With a sweep of his soul, Liu really did give out something in the Fong family's ancestral home. The rebirth pill, the heavenly Xin, 7 Fiends sword, the Black Sun Rain, true spirit jade tome. Liu couldn't help but be shocked when he saw what was hidden in a statue in the Fong family's ancestral home. This is one of the strongest 7 immortal legacies in this world. Although it's only an outer Tao essence soul art, it seems like it was fated to be given to Fong Chi. The Tao of Providence was indeed magical. Was everything just a coincidence? Because of his lack of talent, the engagement was broken off. Because of that, he returned to the ancestral home deep in the mountains and obtained the precious treasure. It seemed like a coincidence, but it was inevitable. The Tao of Providence is a part of the Tao of Fate. As expected, everything is fate. However, fate is never absolute. Liu laughed. So, when you were acting tough, you were chopped up by Shi Xian. After hiding near the Fong family's ancestral home, Liu decided to observe this main character model of Fong Duotian. If the heavens don't accept me, I will seize the heavens. How loud was this slogan? How domineering and awesome was it? I hope you can play for a long time. Don't die so quickly. Chapter 1059. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. I want to defy the heavens. Fong Chi, who was suspected to be the protagonist, came to the ancestral home deep in the mountains. The humiliation and indignation in his heart made him roar in anger. Then, when he went down the steps, he missed a step and crashed into an ancient and mottled statue. The blood on his forehead seeped into the statue. The heavenly Xin 7 Demons sword recognized him as its master. This works too. Liu opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. In Liu's observation, everything seemed to be connected into a line. Every accident was like a link on a chain. One link after another linked all the accidents together, and it became inevitable. Is this the effect of luck? It's like a line connecting all the coincidences together. He looked up at the sky and saw a dark cloud floating over. It seems something interesting is about to happen. Seeing this dark cloud, Liu blinked his eyes and a smile spread across his face. Clang. The magic treasure recognized its master, and the sword aura soared into the sky. A deep dark light shot into the sky, and the sharp sword aura shook the clouds. The dark cloud from before, under the influence of the sword aura, floated in the direction of the Fong family's ancestral home. Is that a treasure light shooting into the sky? A magic treasure has appeared. On a cliff opposite the Fong family's ancestral home, a figure covered in a black robe was startled by the sword aura. He turned his head and looked over in shock. A magic treasure has appeared? Such an opportunity exists? The black-robed figure was overjoyed. He rushed toward the Fong family's ancestral home in a flash of light. When the light landed, the black-robed figure saw the broken statue and the treasure exposed in the statue. He also saw Fong Chi, who hadn't even finished tempering his body and nurturing his soul. He was just an ordinary person. Such a treasure, in the hands of a mortal like you, isn't a waste. As expected, this is my opportunity. The black-robed figure laughed and rushed over. He waved his hand, and a strong wind rushed out and sent Fong Chi flying. With a clang, the heavenly Xin 7 Demons' sword fell to the ground. With Fong Chi's current strength, Even if the Dharma treasure recognized him as its master, he wouldn't be able to use it. Against this black-robed cultivator, he was completely powerless. It seemed that Feng Qi's journey to defy the heavens had come to an end. Black Sun, True Spirit Jade Book, illusory magic weapon, heavenly Xian, 7 fiendish sword. It is indeed a peerless opportunity. The black-robed man put away the Black Sun, Rain, True Spirit Jade Book and grabbed the heavenly Xian 7 fiend sword. No, this is my opportunity. This is mine. Feng Qi roared furiously. Yours? Why is it yours? You're just an ant. The black-robed figure raised the heavenly Xian 7 demons, sword up high. Only I deserve such a treasure. You accept your fate. At this moment, Feng Qi was in a hopeless situation. The peerless treasure he had just obtained was snatched away in the blink of an eye. He had already lost the chance to defy the heavens. I can't accept this. I want to defy the heavens. Unwilling, unyielding, he refused to accept it. Feng Qi roared furiously. Unwilling? Defy the heavens? And I'll let you die to this treasure as a reward for discovering it. The black-robed man sneered and swung the heavenly Xian 7 demons sword at Feng Qi. Then, something shocking happened. Then, something unexpected happened. Crack! The moment the black-robed man swung the sword, a bolt of lightning struck down. The dazzling electric light followed the long sword and struck down. Buzz! Electric snakes slithered, and the black-robed man trembled violently. He screamed and fell to the ground. A dark cloud slowly floated in the sky. I knew it. I knew it. This is so interesting. Liu almost laughed out loud. Everything is possible because of fate. This is so interesting. Fate was so wonderful. The appearance of the treasure shook the clouds and attracted the dark cloud in the sky. Then, when the black-robed man swung the heavenly Xian 7 demon sword, he sensed that the heavenly Xian 7 demons sword had attracted lightning. Therefore, Feng Qi, the son of fate, obtained a complete victory. Is the power of providence leading the changes in some things in a certain direction? Like a magnet, attracting things to change in a certain direction? From what he observed so far, the power of providence seemed to be a magnet. It attracted things to change in a certain direction. However, this change was not absolute. If the black-robed man won, it might really break this pattern. I won. I, Feng Qi, am indeed destined. I am indeed destined to be the protagonist of this era. Feng Qi was stunned when he saw the situation before him. Then he laughed out loud. His laughter was arrogant and domineering, proud and arrogant. How dare you harm me? You deserve it. He stepped forward and reached out to pick up the heavenly Xian 7 demon sword. Feng Qi kicked the black-robed man and raised the sword, about to slash down. It's a woman? With a kick, the hood on the black-robed man's head fell, revealing a beautiful face. Don't play dead. The cold blade was pointed at the black-robed man's throat. Feng Qi sneered. Swear a karmic oath and become my concubine. I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll kill you without mercy. Submit or die. The black-robed man woke up, but the thunder had damaged his soul. He couldn't use any spells at all and had no power to resist in front of Feng Qi. I'm destined. It's not impossible for me to advance to Jin Dan or even Essence Divinity in the future. You won't lose out if you follow me. Feng Qi shouted loudly. The dragon hidden in the abyss above his head rushed up with a boom. The brilliant light of providence turned into a huge, auspicious cloud. The dragon flying in the sky pattern had appeared. Being suppressed by this auspicious cloud, the black-robed woman only felt that the young man in front of her had become brilliant and majestic. Thinking of the scene when she wanted to kill him but was struck by the thunder, it seemed that the destined was not fake at all. I agree. The black-robed woman nodded in agreement. The beauty throwing herself at him, momentum began to appear. The light of providence above Feng Qi's head seemed to have received another boost and shone even more brilliantly. Is this momentum? The general trend was the mandate of heaven. It continues to form momentum, and the providence becomes stronger and stronger. Liu observed for a while and nodded. An idea popped up in his mind. What if the general trend is weakened? Won't it reduce the providence? Something like luck was definitely not unchanging. Everything in the world was evolving and changing. Nothing was eternal and unchanging. Therefore, providence would definitely rise and fall. Young man, let's play a game. The karmic oath in this world was witnessed by the karmic ancestor, the glazed Buddha. However, Liu also had the principles of karma. When the black-robed woman made the karmic oath, Liu could naturally do something. When the black-robed woman realizes that her karmic oath is not bound, what will she do? I'm really looking forward to it. Chapter 1060 F***CK Astral Projection Overnight. The next morning, when Feng Qi and the black-robed lady walked out of their room, Liu suddenly realized that Feng Qi's cultivation had already reached the astral projection realm. As for what happened last night, Liu adhered to the principle of see no evil, so naturally, he didn't look at it. Seeing Feng Qi's cultivation soar and the black-robed lady's expression, Liu immediately understood. Dual cultivation technique? Dual cultivation technique in the harem? That's standard for the main character. Liu suddenly felt that he might not be able to continue playing that game anymore. Under the influence of Feng Qi's providence, even without the karmic oath, the black-robed lady might not betray him. After all, feelings were born with time. Looks like I'll have to torture him a little more. Liu looked at the black-robed lady and saw the karma on her through the karmic thread. Young man, this junior sister has a senior brother behind her. So, after you made him a cuckold, he came to seek revenge. Isn't that a reasonable development? With a flick of his finger, Liu followed the karmic thread and tugged at the heartstrings of the senior brother. There's nothing dangerous about chaotic Cloud Mountain. Why isn't junior sister Tan back yet? In Tianyuan City, senior brother Wang, who had agreed to meet junior sister Tan here, was a little anxious. Junior sister Tan couldn't have been in trouble, right? Senior brother Wang could not wait any longer. No, I have to go find her. Senior brother Wang rushed in the direction of chaotic Cloud Mountain, which was also the direction of the Fong clan's ancestral residence. A moment later, the three of them met. A story of gratitude and resentment, love and hatred began. Junior sister, senior brother Wang, who was flying over, saw the two of them hugging each other intimately. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning and almost lost control of his flying light. Senior brother, when junior sister Tan saw this figure, her body trembled. She felt wronged, resentful, sad, and nervous. For a moment, all sorts of emotions welled up in her, and tears rolled down her cheeks. You're a senior brother? All right, she's my concubine now. Since you're her senior martial brother, then we're family. Feng Qi glanced at senior brother Wang and hugged junior sister Tan in a show of force. Junior martial sister Tan's heart was in a mess, and she actually forgot to struggle free. Damn it, his head was already covered in green grass. Any man wouldn't be able to resist. Bastard, die. Senior brother Wang roared angrily and released his flying sword to slash at Feng Qi. Don't. Junior sister Tan was shocked. She wanted to stop him, but when she saw senior brother Wang's furious and bloodshot eyes, she immediately lost the courage to stop him. You dare to make a move against me? Feng Qi was at the height of his success. Magical treasures and beauties were delivered to his door. He was the son of destiny, the number one in the world. How could Feng Qi, who was so confident in himself, take senior brother Wang seriously? You dare to attack me? Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? With a wave of his hand, the heavenly Exion 7 Fiend sword turned into a streak of black light and slashed at senior martial brother Wang's flying sword. Crack! The two swords clashed. How could senior martial brother Wang's flying sword compare to Feng Qi's magical treasure? It was instantly shattered. However, How long had Feng Qi been cultivating? He couldn't even enter the body tempering stage for more than 10 years. Now that he had reached the out-of-body tempering stage overnight, his cultivation had indeed skyrocketed. However, his abilities were unbearably weak. If not for his extraordinary magical treasure, he wouldn't have been able to block Senior Marshal Brother Wang's attack. Even if he blocked the attack, the consequences huffed. Feng Qi spat out a mouthful of blood and staggered before falling to the ground in a sorry state. Is that all you've got? Is that all you've got? Senior Marshal Brother Wang's eyes were bloodshot. He roared furiously and charged forward like a madman, punching and kicking Feng Qi. Bang! 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 Feng Qi was beaten up like a sandbag by Senior Marshal Brother Wang. His head was full of bumps, and he was bleeding all over. I'm the son of destiny. How can I be humiliated like this? I won't accept this. I won't accept this. I'm going to defy the heavens. Feng Qi screamed in his heart and roared furiously. Boom! At this moment, a violent roar came from the sky. A fire dragon rolled. Thunder roared. A giant fire dragon and a giant made of thunder fought in the sky. Sparks flew everywhere, and sparks flew everywhere. Unfortunately, some of the shock waves came from the battle. Boom! A strong wind blew, and the Feng family's ancestral house collapsed. The powerful force sent Senior Marshal Brother Wang flying. The son of destiny, Feng Qi, was also sent flying. Preposterous! Preposterous! I won't let this go so easily. Just you wait. Feng Qi, who was sent flying, happened to fall into a mountain stream and was washed away by the waterfall. He managed to escape the crisis. However, the beauty that he had just obtained was gone, and the magical treasure, the heavenly Xan 7 demon sword, was also lost. Feng Qi, who was running away, gritted his teeth and shouted furiously, I'll return today's humiliation 100-fold. After saying that, Feng Qi turned around and ran away. Interesting. How very interesting. Liu, who had directed a good show, sat on the clouds, clapped his hands and laughed. In Liu's eyes, half of the luck cloud above Feng Qi's head had dissipated. Obviously, the accident just now had caused Feng Qi's luck to drop. However, for better or for worse, his luck was great. When he faced this type of life and death crisis, there just happened to be a battle between experts. The shockwaves shook, allowing him to escape just in time. As expected, luck isn't constant. Feng Qi failed to open a harem, and the Green Hat Man came to his door and destroyed his luck. He also lost the Heavenly Xian 7 Demon Sword, which was a big loss. The Heavenly Xian 7 Demon Sword was Feng Qi's protective treasure. In the future, many robberies, killing enemies, and even opening a harem would be related to the Heavenly Xian 7 Demon Sword. Losing the Heavenly Xian 7 Demons Sword naturally meant losing a lot of luck. In the path of luck, a slight move in a hair will affect the whole body. The wind rises from the end of the green duckweed, but can cause huge waves. I see. Through Feng Qi's personal demonstration, Liu witnessed his rise and fall, and saw the rise and fall of his luck. He already had a realization in his heart. At this moment, the main body that was hidden in the void smiled and opened his eyes. Luck, fate, I see. He waved his hand, and the billions of avatars that were scattered in the heavens were retracted. Combining the realization of the billions of avatars and the changes in luck of Feng Qi, the son of luck, Liu already had a clear understanding of the path of luck. Before the creation of the heavens and earth, it was nothing. After the creation of the heavens and earth, it was something. The path of order, on the other hand, runs through this something and the nothing. The so-called destiny, the so-called fate, is the process of the path of order. The evolution of order was fate. My path of order has always been focused on order itself, but neglected the evolution of order. This path of fate is indeed a great supplement to my origin of order. As for the story of Junior Sister Tan and Senior Brother Wang, Liu naturally didn't care about it. What would Senior Brother Wang choose? Of course, forgive her. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.